Joe Wiz Sports. No calls, no text, no emails. Follow at Joe Wiz Sports and get free winners 7 days a week. Football and basketball winners. One click gets your free winners 7 days a week. Follow Joe Wiz Sports on Instagram or Twitter. Free winners 7 days a week with no hype. Now you can follow one of the biggest names in sports betting. Follow Joe Wiz Sports for free winners.
Motley Crue, Def Leppard, the Stadium Tour. A once-in-a-lifetime event with Poison and Joan Jett of the Blackhearts. Indianapolis, August 16th, Lucas Oil Stadium. Reserve seats on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. Motley Crue, Def Leppard, the Stadium Tour.
If you're worried your friend may be struggling, remember, you don't have to be there to be there.
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat on the game, kick off your flip-flops. You could ask on your couch while you binge watch. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and the Jed Foundation.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
It's Kevin and Query.
I throw, you catch. It's not that hard, okay? All right, get the out of here.
But talk a lot about drills and fundamentals.
Watch it, watch it, watch it, watch it.
On 93.5
Watch it.
and 107.5.
Boom, baby.
The Fan.
So, Kevin, I totally jinxed us. Totally jinxed us some 2 weeks ago.
Totally redeem yourself.
I've not redeemed myself. I don't know. It was probably 2 weeks ago when I came in here and foolish and flippantly said off the top, hey, good news. This is probably going to be our last sub-freezing temperature morning of, the season. I got up this morning. I had to scrape my windshield.
Yeah, a light dusting? Is that fair?
Yeah, an ice. There was ice,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, kind of like a slushy ice. It didn't delay me at all coming in, but I know there are a few delays on the south side in terms of schools. I think I saw Center Grove, Greenwood, Mooresville, some of the school districts down there dealing with a bit of delay. Jake, you strike me as a smart individual. You've obviously lived in this area for the vast majority of your life. When you said that, I was kind of like, what does Jake know that I don't know about global warming and the weather potentially here in 2022?
I looked at the outlook, and I'm like, okay, it says it's supposed to be 45.
But you always know it's freezing in the morning.
I know. But here's what's funny to me. Did you notice 2 weeks ago, there was a 3 or 4 day stretch where on the iToy little app,
the worst app in the history of apps, by the way.
It said for every morning 52, 50, or for every day highs of 52, and I'm like, we didn't get over 20 for 4 of those days. I'm like, where did that come from? It was not even close, and usually it's pretty accurate. It wasn't even close to accurate.
Now did you lose a bet in the last 12 hours, 24 hours?
No, I know where you're going with this. I'm a good sport. I didn't lose a bet.
So you have been all aboard since day one. The Wyoming Cowboys trained all year long. I felt for you last night watching Xavier Providence go into triple overtime, and your Cowboys, they didn't come on CBS Network. They're supposed to come on at 9 o'clock? 8:30?
Correct. CBS Sports Network at 9 p.m. And I was so fired up. I went last night and had Basbo with my buddy Dan, and so we had our pizza, and then I said, hey, 9 o'clock, man, CBS Sports Network, Wyoming's on.
Right, and you had the face paint ready
State,
and all of it.
I did, man. In Colorado, as a matter of fact, I rode a horse over to Dan's house. Colorado State.
This is kind of horse weather.
That's right. Colorado State and Wyoming are both 20-4 or whatever, so it was a huge matchup.
Yeah, 2 tournament
in
teams.
the Mountain West, and probably at this point, the difference between the 9-8 maybe between the two, it was at Colorado State. So I turned it on at 9 o'clock on CBS Sports Network, all fired up, got my hat on, and Xavier Providence. I did have the lasso. Xavier Providence went to not 1, not 2, but 3 overtimes. a game filled with former Indiana connections.
Yes.
Al Durham playing for Providence.
Jerome Hunter
playing
for Xavier. Paul Scruggs hit a
huge shot
to force, I think, the third overtime. I don't know. They all kind of run together. And they had a water delay, a roof leak delay, or maybe it was the hockey ice underneath the Dunkin' Donuts Center floor. But then all of a sudden, I'm like, man, Jake is not going to be able to watch his Cowboys. The game doesn't come on live TV, CBS Network, until 7 minutes to go in the game. And I caught it this morning. Wyoming lost, by 4 or 5, something like that?
Yes, I think it was 6. Graham Ike, who's their good big man, who's been a really good player for them, was like 3 for 14. They just did not. They were
Colorado
flat.
State floor kind of blinded me at one point.
Yeah, they've got like the ram thing, the ram horns ground into it.
It was a lot. And now all of a sudden I'm looking at you this morning and you're wearing a Colorado State shirt. So I didn't know if you had found a Ram fan and had made a friendly wager, or your allegiance has got to be Cowboy blood through and through.
It is. Shannon is a Colorado native, and her nephew, James, so tip of the cap, I guess, to James Walsh for the big win last night. James attended Colorado State.
Gotcha.
And so,
okay.
I don't know, one of the trips out there or whatever else, I ended up with 2 Colorado State T-shirts and thought, yeah, you know what? Good game. I'll put on a Colorado State
You're like
shirt.
an IU fan wearing an Ohio State shirt to work.
That's right.
On Tuesday.
Good morning to you. My name is Jake Query. That is the voice of Kevin Bowen. It is Kevin and Query here on 93.5, 107.5. The Fan, Mark Dykton, back on part of his 9 weeks vacation. Josh Molinax once again capably filling in. Josh, you're now full-time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm getting yelled at for all the hours, working way too much.
That's right. Nothing wrong with that. Lot to talk about this morning, Kevin, including we'll talk about the Pacers upcoming. I did find it interesting. Mike Wells, our buddy over at ESPN.com, ESPN did a list of one player that should look to be or prepare to be moved on from each franchise of the NFL. Did you see the player that Mike Wells wrote about? Accurate observation.
No, but I'm curious to know who it is, because Wells has been he hasn't been, I think, as far on the ledge as some others in saying the Colts are definitely moving on from Carson Wentz.
You are correct. He did not. So I'm scrolling this list thinking, well, surely it's going to be Carson Wentz's name that I'm going to get to. Would you like to guess? It was, in fact, not Carson Wentz.
Does this include free agents? Like your own free agents?
Let me read you the disclaimer. NFL players who need a change of scenery this offseason. One from each team. Players who could use a change of scenery. Let's see. It doesn't mention here. I'm assuming this is all players that would be under contract.
Okay. The names that pop into my head, Marlon Mack.
Okay. Any others that jump out at you?
Kamoko Ture or Ben Banogu?
Those would both be excellent choices. The correct answer is indeed Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack is correct.
Who is a free agent?
He is a free agent?
He is a free agent. So I think this will just be kind of a cordial, hey, Marlon, we appreciate it. Sorry about the injury. Sorry about drafting Johnathan Taylor. Not really, but...
Interestingly enough,
for your sake, sorry.
The Pittsburgh Steelers nominee from Brooke Pryor, who is the Steelers beat writer. Would you like to guess who Brooke Pryor says the Steelers need to move on from, or just needs a change of scenery?
Oh boy, is it Chase Claypool?
Eric Ebron. That's a hearty laugh there.
Yeah, I think Eric would love to get to a climate where he can play golf year round.
There is one quarterback. Among all the teams, there is one franchise whose quarterback was the nominee. Would you like to guess that team?
Well, you know what? There's a quarterback name we didn't mention yesterday, Jake, that Clayton messaged me about last night that I want to get to. So maybe it's kind of low-hanging fruit for me to just name that guy right now, but I don't...
Would you like my description? The ESPN description of said quarterback?
Sure, yeah.
With blank and blank, that being the player and team, having been on the path of a divorce since the acquisition of another player, The chances are the representatives for both will work together to get the best compensation package while sending the players somewhere where he can have success. Take it from him himself. There's something to be said for a fresh start. Absolutely, the player said. I don't know if it'll be easier or harder. Each year is difficult in this league. I mean, it always is, but that's part of the reason I love it. Nothing's given to you. You've got to earn everything in this league, and it's not easy. I think that's just something that I can embrace and I can sort of enjoy in some way.
Nick Foles?
No. Is that the player that you were asked about? No, Nick Foles is one that I think people automatically assume because, but then again, Frank Reich, Nick Foles is a player that found consistency and great play when it mattered most for Philadelphia under Frank Reich, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay trust Frank Reich to say, look, I know this guy's numbers have not been great since, but I can get it back out of him?
No, I don't.
Or do they say, you know what, fool me once?
Yeah, Frank, we did it once. We are not doing that again.
The answer, by the way, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Okay. Which totally makes sense based off the end of the year comments there.
You know what? I think Jimmy Garoppolo, in terms of physical abilities, on a 1 to 10 scale, I think Garoppolo might be 2 points behind Carson Wentz. But in terms of emotional makeup, I think he's 2.5 points ahead of him. And I think Garoppolo is a quarterback that needs a system around him, probably. I mean, he's a system quarterback. He needs good pieces around him. I don't know that Garoppolo goes out and wins you games, but I don't think he goes out and loses you any. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just think it's so lateral. And it's a big contract. You'd, I think, be giving up another draft pick to kind of just have the same end result. It might look different in getting there, to your point, Jake, about, he might be a little bit steadier between the ears and things like that. But I just think it's, and you could say this about so many of the, again, realistic names, that they're all pretty much lateral. Garoppolo, Mariota, Winston. Easily Garoppolo in your mind?
No. Of those, Mariota to me would be probably the one of the three. I think Mariota and Garoppolo are kind of lateral movements, don't you?
Yeah, and, again, everyone qualifies probably as lateral to some degree, but I don't know. Garoppolo, it's just like Jake, he's had some great chances, and he's had, certainly last year in San Francisco, he had much better skill talent than he's going to walk into here in Indy.
Well, I'll tell you this.
He didn't have Johnathan Taylor, but Deebo Samuel and George Kittle's a good start.
There is proof, there is tangible proof that with the right pieces around him, Garoppolo can keep his hands on the wheel enough to get his team to the Super Bowl. Right? I mean,
but again, it goes back to, I think JMV and I were talking about this yesterday, Jake. He's got 2 top 10 picks on his defensive line and Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead.
I get it.
He's got Deebo Samuel. He's got, to use your car analogy, do the Colts have those same parts on the car?
Fair point. Absolutely fair point.
I just saw pop up behind you on the TV that Adam Schefter said, I don't think it's a lock that Garoppolo moves. Trey Lance needs more work than I thought. I thought both parties came out at the end of the season. We're kind of like, all right, this is done. It's time to, for both parties, let Trey Lance get some experience and then let Jimmy G go to another destination.
Which team appears to have the most? Which team appears to have more confidence in their young heir apparent? San Francisco with Lance or Green Bay with Jordan Love?
Oh, I think it's definitely San Francisco.
I mean, Jordan Love certainly. Rodgers was out, one game with the COVID thing?
Yeah, that Kansas City game, I think it was.
And Love was just there, right?
And I think you got to acknowledge, Jake, Trey Lance was taking 3 overall. Jordan Love was taking, 23 overall? Something like that. I mean, it was very...
Did they move up to get him? I can't recall.
That's a good question. I think they might have, but I can't recall. That was that draft where you had Burrow go 1, then you had Herbert and Tua. I guess it would have been Tua then Herbert, I believe, 5 or 6. And then I think the next quarterback that came off the board was Jordan Love in the early 20s. Must win tonight for the Indiana Hoosiers. They are a 6.5-point favorite in taking on Maryland. One of their better games of the year. in College Park back last month. Terrific defensive performance. Race Thompson, Trace Jackson Davis really dominated the paint as well. So we'll see if Indiana can, I guess, stay afloat and give themselves a chance in the final three after this, because it's at Minnesota, Rutgers, and then at Purdue following tonight. They'll try to end that 5-game losing streak. See, Wisconsin won a close one last night.
Did they? Wisconsin did?
Yeah, they won.
I was sitting there waiting for the Wyoming game. Yeah. I didn't see anything else.
I forgot. Yeah, you were ironing that Colorado State shirt as well. Right. They beat Minnesota by 1. I think Minnesota hit a late 3 to make it a little bit closer there. But that now means Wisconsin is at 13-4. Purdue is at 13-4. Wisconsin's got the head-to-head right now. They'll play again on Tuesday in the Kohl Center. And then tonight, the next two teams in the Big Ten, Jake, the Fighting Illini at 12-4 and the Buckeyes at 10-5. They are next on the list here. So
I think Illinois is really good.
Yeah, agreed.
You know,
You think they could go deeper than Purdue?
I do. I do, because I think that they have, dependent upon matchups, I think they have the equal chance of going equally far in the tournament. But if one of the two of them goes up against a team, let's say, without a strong frontline defense, both of them have players to take advantage of that. And I do think, not unlike Purdue, so I'm saying this totally exclusive from Purdue commentary, I think Illinois is really well coached. I think they have inside and outside talent. Yeah, I think Illinois, based on matchups, Illinois could be a Final Four team. They could be a conference final team for sure, or a regional final team for sure.
So this Big Ten title will certainly carry into the final week of the season. Wisconsin's next game is at Rutgers before they host Purdue. Again, Purdue's got Michigan State. Michigan State's lost 5 of 6 to 1 win.
Yeah, they're backpedaling, right?
Being Indiana in that stretch there. So we'll see if the Hoosiers can get it done.
By the way,
tonight.
Kevin, Green Bay did trade in the 2020 NFL draft. They had the 30th pick. They sent the 30th pick along with the 136th pick to Miami to move up 4 spots, and then they drafted Jordan
Just
Love.
4?
Yeah. So they must have felt like, I'm looking here, they skipped Seattle, Baltimore, and Tennessee. Did they think that one of those would have taken him? I can't.
Well, I think, if I remember correctly, back to that draft night, there were a lot of rumors about the Colts trading up for Jordan Love.
Right.
And we had the call about it yesterday, and I wanted to reiterate to people that Chris Ballard was certainly turned off by Jordan Love and him. I think did he miss his bowl game, or he got busted for weed, I think, just a few days before the bowl
being
game.
The key word, yeah.
Yeah, in more ways than one there. And then had a one-on-one interview with him a couple of nights before the draft and just wasn't blown away from a leadership standpoint from Jordan Love there. So, yeah, the Combine next week. We'll hear from Chris Ballard and Frank Reich tentatively on Tuesday. Then I think Frank Reich is supposed to join us Thursday, Jake. I believe that's kind of the new update there on Frank Reich hopping on.
Week from today?
With us, yes, a week from today. We got a tweet here saying, speaking of IU, can crazy training camp Jimmy call in with a prediction? IU's just got to get tonight. I'm flat out. Yeah, I mean, this is
if they don't get tonight.
I know Maryland's won a couple in a row, but this is one that you have to have. We'll see if there's any update on Trey Galloway. He had the old hockey injury the other night, the lower body injury, because wasn't it a wrist for Trey Galloway earlier in the year? And right now, with your point guard situation, like, it doesn't sound like Finney's coming back. I don't know, maybe he does come back, but it doesn't sound like that is imminent. You just need. I'm not saying Galloway is, going to spell Xavier minutes and give you, extraordinary minutes at the point, but I just think you need Trey Galloway's presence on the floor. And Maryland does have a couple guards.
I agree with
that can go off.
Hey, Jake, can you ask Kevin to explain what exactly he means when he says a must-win for Indiana? Is Woodson going to be fired? Has the IU AD suggested such? I assume you mean for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, definitely not for the. You imagine how much that buyout is, let alone firing a head coach at this point in his first season. Who? Strictly for NCAA tournament resume.
So my understanding is with Mike Woodson that I was told this yesterday that he has. You know who's been coming in a lot and helping Woodson just with the overall coaching, like coming in for like a week at a time to help out and observe and, give thoughts and opinions and helping out with practice and that kind of thing for Indiana?
I assume it's not just Thad Matta? I assume you mean somebody else?
Correct. And I don't know how involved
Larry Brown, or did Larry Brown join somebody else?
Larry Brown actually was interested in. Larry Brown had interest in coming here as an assistant. Obviously, that did not happen. Randy Whitman has been helping out.
Really?
Mm-hmm. As I understand it.
Now, they crossed over for how many years?
As players?
Yeah.
Let me think. Whitman, 81, 82.
Not a ton,
81,
right?
Senior freshman, I think. But, obviously they crossed paths.
NBA ties.
Yeah. A ton of path crossing throughout the course of their careers. No doubt about it.
We will touch on that, Indiana and Maryland, tonight. Again, our coverage over on our sister station, WIBC, at 6 o'clock, and the tip is 7 o'clock from Assembly Hall. Some Pacers injury updates as well. They had their first practice back from All-Star break yesterday, and they will take on the Thunder. The ultimate, Jake, I thought this was just mean. Did you see the Pacers giveaway for Friday night for Pacers Thunder?
So Paul George, Victor Oladipo bobbleheads?
That would have been good. It's IUPUI hat night. So when we have the two tanking teams, we're giving away the hat of the team that's won 3 games all season. God, we're just rubbing it in to Matt Crenshaw's Jags there. Obviously, I'm sure that's something that is decided well before.
Jim Todd also has been helping out with Indiana, who is a close associate of Mike Woodson's.
He's got a lot of help.
That's why you brought him in, right? Access to a lot of guys.
We'll talk about that. Scott Agness at 8:30 and Curt Cavin at 9 o'clock as we preview the first IndyCar race of the year coming up Sunday at St. Pete. Not too bad, the roadways this morning, for those that are curious what it looks like. I would say just kind of a light dusting, a little bit of a slushy ice look, but no delay for myself. I assume you were the same way, Jake. Nothing.
Yeah, roads were fine, but if your car was parked outside, you might have to scrape a little bit.
Certainly.
A little ice.
Thank you for tuning in to Kevin and Corey on the Thursday morning, 935 and 107.5, The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Pacers guard Tyrese Haliburton joins us. What do you think about this Pacers roster that you see moving forward?
We got a lot of youth, a lot of guys that, feel like they have something to prove in this league. More likely than not, we're going to get a decent pick in this year's draft, bringing another young guy who's ready to go. And, I'm looking forward to what our roster is right now and what it's going to be. Just looking forward to keep growing here in Indiana.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 till 6.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Dell Technologies advisors are here with the right Windows, PC, and tech solutions so you can stop at nothing for your customers. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
Tavern Tour 22, brought to you by Evan Williams, continues this Friday at Sam's Silver Circle in Fountain Square. Join JMV this Friday from 3 to 6 at Sam's Silver Circle. Tavern Tour 22.
It's CarX Tire and Auto, 14 Central Indiana locations, helping you keep winter road ready. To find that location nearest you, log on, CarX.com today.
Hey guys, it's the new year. Are you still struggling with erectile dysfunction? I've yet to meet anyone that enjoys timing those intimate moments around a pill. Well, now you don't have to. The advanced wave technology at Pine Grove Medical Clinic has been shown by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic to restore and even regrow blood vessels. It can improve circulation and eliminate erectile dysfunction. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us in the next 2 minutes and you'll receive a consultation, assessment, and blood flow ultrasound free. Plus, a special gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. Trust me. This is a $600 value, free to callers now. 317-552-1111. That's 317-552-1111. Guys, get rid of your ED and get that spark back. Call Pine Grove Medical Clinic now to qualify. 317-552-1111.
Hi, this is Ted Bishop, PGA General Manager at the Legends Golf Club in Franklin. This year, we are celebrating our 30th anniversary of being in business, and I want to personally invite you to become a member at our course, which was selected as the 2021 Indiana Golf Course of the Year. We are offering a limited number of 2-year Monday through Friday memberships starting at $199 a year. Yep, you heard it right, only $199 a year, and you can upgrade to a 7-day membership for only $50 per year more. If you ride, you just pay for the golf cart, and if you walk, there's no additional charge. These memberships will expire on December 31 of 2023. Legends has 27 Fazio Design Championship holes. Our regular players will tell you that we are known for great playing conditions and a friendly staff. Join the Legends Golf Club today. Don't delay, because limited spots are available. Call 317-736-8186 or buy online at thelegendsgolfclub.com. And I'll see you on the first tee.
We buy any car. We buy any car. We buy any car. Any.
Did you know trading in your car at a dealer could cost you money? A recent study found consumers who trade in their car pay an average of $990 more. So don't trade in. Sell it to We Buy Any Car. Learn more and get your free online valuation now at WeBuyAnyCar.com.
Find out how much your car's worth at We Buy Any Car.
Gainbridge Fieldhouse is our house.
Turner the rebound, puts it in.
We protect our house.
Here's another three.
Along with 18,000 of you every day. We thrive on your energy.
He's going to step back, a three. Count it!
We are gold-blooded.
It's an Eastern Conference showdown when your Pacers host the Boston Celtics on Sunday. Enjoy an early tip-off at 5 p.m. Get your tickets at Pacers.com. Pacers Celtics, Sunday at 5.
Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using the code THEFAN. That is all one word, capital T, capital F. And your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, player props, and daily boosted odds specials. Plus, you'll earn BetMGM rewards points that can be redeemed for online bonuses or converted into comps for rooms, restaurants, and more at over 20 MGM resorts in Las Vegas and nationwide. Download the BetMGM app today or go to BetMGM.com and again, enter that code THEFAN and place your first wager risk-free. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Indiana only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Jake Query here. Recently I returned to college to finish my degree, and I encourage you to join me. Whether you're like me and life simply got in the way, or you never went to college at all, Indiana offers financial assistance for those ready to move forward. If I can do it, I know you can too. If you're looking for a better job or doing it for your family, Indiana has grants to pay for over 150 certificates in high-wage industries. You're sure to find a tuition-free option that fits you. To apply, visit nextleveljobs.org today. Sponsored by the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. That's nextleveljobs.org.
The Sports Center update on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan is presented by Big O Tires, the team you trust.
We will begin with a little round ball, a little basketball news, because it was a busy night last night in college basketball, Kevin. As you had mentioned, that Xavier-Providence finish was pretty spectacular.
It was, yeah. It seems like Providence has played those games all season long, but triple overtime. Xavier reeling a little bit here. A lot of Indiana ties on that team and on their coaching staff as well. Providence wins in triple overtime. At one point, there was talk of having to move the game to the campus arena because of some condensation on the floor there late, but they were able to finish it. Butler, another Big East game last night, they lose to Seton Hall 66-60. Try to make it interesting late, but in kind of typical Butler fashion this year, can't get it done.
3-game losing streak now for the Dogs. By the way, my prediction, Providence does not make it to the second weekend of the tournament. They will be an early upset victim.
And they'll be a high seed.
Correct.
Probably
they're going to be like probably a 3.
Yeah.
I was going to say, they're going to be one of those 3-14 upsets in the first round of the tournament.
You mentioned it earlier, Al Durham, one of their better players this year, and transferring there to Providence. So the Big East, I think Villanova, per usual, I think will be the team to really get on a run.
Northern Iowa last night over the trees of Indiana State, 88-82. It was Drake over Valpo, 71-65. Notre Dame getting a win over Syracuse. Now that, I was going to say, put Syracuse at 15-13, so it's not like it's some huge win in that regard. But if you're Notre Dame now, getting you to 20 wins, 20-8, Irish pretty much have punched their card, don't you think?
Yeah, it was big in the sense of just holding serve. That's right. What Notre Dame needs to do. They are now 13-4 in the ACC, looking at a top 4 seed in the ACC tournament, really looking at the number 2 seed in the ACC tournament. That should get them in. Did you see the Evansville score last night, Jake? I'll be honest, I don't keep track of a whole lot of Valpo, Indiana State, Fort Wayne, but did you see how bad they lost?
I'm afraid to ask. Why does Scotty not have it on the sheet? What's going on here?
So
I can't tolerate this kind of slacking.
I'm going to look it up to make sure I have this right. Mo Valley, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Loyola Chicago, Jake, who is 23-6 on the year, 82.
Okay, 82-56.
82.
Did they double them up?
Oh my gosh, did they? 82 to Reggie Miller.
Come on.
82-31. The 6-23 Aces. It was 41-12 at half. The second half, 41-19.
And that's, I mean,
is that Licklider?
That is Licklider. You mean, is it on Licklider?
No, I mean, is he still there?
He is still there, well, for now, right? But then again, I mean, Todd Licklider, to be fair, inherited a terrible situation left behind by Walter McCarty, right?
Say, that was.
I don't even know how many. They didn't have a single player in double digits.
31 points.
They shot
great balance to get to 31.
They shot 10 of 39 from the floor and 5 of 21 from three-point range. Hell, they only shot 9 free throws the entire game.
Man, the days of beating Kentucky seem like eons ago.
Isn't that crazy?
Evansville.
That is not good.
Indiana tonight, it's a 7 o'clock tip down at Assembly Hall. Trace Jackson Davis yesterday on facing Maryland. Again, must win in the sense of trying to keep your NCAA tournament hopes alive.
We're hungry. Ohio State, that's a game that we should have won. Both of those teams, Ohio State and Wisconsin, both games that went down to the wire. We had a lead, 2 to 3 minutes left. We just got to finish them out. So they're both top 25 teams and just shows how close we are as a team to success. So Maryland, they've been playing really well lately. Coming in here, and we just got to take it to them, honestly. There's ain't no other way to put it. So it's time to get the bad taste out of our mouth because we're really tired of losing, honestly.
We're tired of losing.
Yeah, I'd say 5-game losing streak would qualify.
Has there ever been a team that was like, this losing stuff is pretty awesome?
Energized me.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm skipping to class on campus because I'm so pumped up right now.
I skipped class a lot, which is why I'm back in school now, as a matter of fact, to finish off things in terms of my degree. Pacers off tonight, but back in action. We'll talk about that upcoming here. It is Oklahoma City that will be taking on Indiana. That game tomorrow night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Also, I hear there could be an announcement today about more changes coming for the Indiana Fever. That's my understanding. Have not seen an official declaration of a press conference, but I think that might happen later this morning.
What we saw was a couple weeks ago, Tamika Catchings resigned. Is that correct?
Correct.
From her
Lynn
GM
Dunn serving as the interim general manager, and Lynn Dunn, of course,
she's in the rafters, right?
Coach. I think she might be.
Lynn Dunn.
Well, I don't know about physically. That would be uncomfortable.
No, yeah, that would be. She and Boomer coming down from the rafters.
If you were Boomer, by the way, have you been to the game where Boomer, where they, I don't know, what do you word it? Lift him up into the rafters, literally?
Levitate.
Would you do that?
Hell no.
That's going way up there, man.
Have you seen how they, again, I don't know the word, how Boomer descends down? Have you seen how that's executed?
No, he goes up into the catwalk, right?
Right, and then there's 6 grown adults, older men, I would say, now I'm sounding like I'm super young, but 50-year-old dudes, it looks like, they run across the catwalk, and that lowers him. There's 5 of them in a row, jogging together, and the YouTube audience is seeing me attempt this right now. I'm thinking, what if one of them trips and falls, Jake?
No chance.
Is Boomer just
Well, you've seen Rocky.
By the
Rocky, who might be the best mascot in the NBA for the Denver Nuggets. They were doing a deal like that with him, and the dude passed out. I don't know if he got the bends or what, but he passed out.
That's what I'm saying.
Horrified kids in the crowd as Rocky's just hanging around, literally.
But you know me, I've said it before. Boomer is a top 5 mascot. Scotty says Todd Licklider was out last night due to non-COVID illness. So I'm sure if Todd Licklider was on the bench, it would have been, 5-point game?
They'd have gotten 36 points.
Yeah. Evansville, again, loses by 51. Andrew, we see you on the phone lines. We'll talk a little Mike Woodson when we come back. And we haven't talked a whole lot of Pacers this week with them returning from the All-Star break. They are getting, I think, a notable name back, it sounds like, tomorrow night against the Thunder. And then a couple of other injury updates, Myles Turner and TJ Warren related. We'll update you on that as well. Kevin Bowen, Jake Query, Josh Molnex filling in for Mark Dykton on a Thursday morning.
The NTT IndyCar Series opens the season in St. Petersburg, Sunday at noon on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
A while back, we at AmericanEagle.com were asked to build the e-commerce site of a major candy distributor. With the need for a website that could take into account everything from shipping times to local weather, because, candy melts, the task was not like taking candy from a baby. Fortunately, we live for a good digital challenge and free bonbons. So we got to work on a slew of complex integrations, including a shipping algorithm that factored in variables like distance, speed, and location. The website even let the end customer personalize their candy for special events, like weddings or, major website launches. When all was said and done, our client enjoyed a significant increase in traffic, which we were also well prepared for, and an increase in average order size. A sweet result indeed. For complex e-commerce sites, digital marketing, UX, and more, talk to the experts at AmericanEagle.com. Don't just grow, soar.
Gorgeous gaming, stunning streams, unbelievable bandwidth. It's another Lifestyles of Gagillionaires. Meet the AT&T Fiber customers winning at life with hyper gig speeds. Meet Gagillionaire Terry. While his love of streaming horror movies has him constantly on the edge of his seat, his internet bill won't give him a scare.
Oh, don't go in there. I'm telling you.
Because since Terry upgraded to AT&T Fiber with hyper gig speeds, he doesn't worry about data caps or equipment fees.
Come on, man. The door's open for a reason.
And best yet, he also doesn't stress about a price increase at 12 months, because with the amazing Gagillionaire lifestyle comes an exquisite sense of tranquility. Most of the time. Live like a Gagillionaire. Get straightforward pricing with AT&T Fiber. Internet that upgrades everything. No data caps, no equipment fees, and no price increase at 12 months.
Limited availability in select areas. Visit att.com/hypergig for details.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything like mascot insurance, but with the physical toll that certainly Boomer goes through, they need to know about QC Kinetics. And that's for all of us. If you're suffering from everyday joint pain, you can get help via QC Kinetics. We're talking real, lasting relief, now with biological treatments. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative solutions that can restore and repair damaged tissue with no surgery and no drugs. This is the relief you've been hoping for. For your aching hips, knees, shoulder, lower back, the unique protocols at QC Kinetics were created by a physician with years of studying in regenerative medicine, and they're treating patients every day in hundreds of clinics nationwide with remarkable success, life-changing results with zero downtime. It's the new, better, non-surgical, non-invasive way to deal with joint pain. And yes, they are right here ready to help us right now. So call for a free consultation and make this spring and summer your best ever with no joint pain holding you back. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. 463-235-7160. That's 463-235-7160.
Motley Crue, Def Leppard, The Stadium Tour, a once-in-a-lifetime event with Poison and Joan Jett of the Blackhearts. Indianapolis, August 16th, Lucas Oil Stadium. Reserve seats on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. Motley Crue, Def Leppard, The Stadium Tour.
Talking to my friend Larry Howald, he owns Howald Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing. He told me he loves cold weather. He gave me a few great furnace tips. First one, easy. Keep your furnace filter clean. Dirty filter makes furnace problems. Furnace on the fritz? Check the door. Make sure it's closed all the way. Safety switch engaged, and make sure the thermostat is on, batteries are charged. Finally, shameless plug for Larry. If you find yourself left out in the cold, call 317-953-4698 or 317-953-HOW8.
When it comes to working at Geico, our best advocates are our employees, like Janet. But since she is so focused on growing her career, we hired an actor to read her story.
At Geico, we really help each other. If anything comes up, we work through it as a group, so we all learn.
As a full-time employee, she can also get paid benefits like medical, dental, vision, and parental leave. She even got a plaque for her desk that says, "I'm kind of a big deal." Yeah, you are, Janet.
Ready to start your career, Indy? We're hiring claim sales and service agents. Apply online today at geico.jobs/Indy.
When a health system treats patients with the very best in medical care and compassion, it needs a rare kind of staff. That's why Eskenazi Health never stops looking for professionals who understand that technology is most effective when paired with a genuine human touch. If you are a nurse,
a social worker,
or another professional interested in a career with us, visit eskenazihealth.edu/careers. Eskenazi Health, one of Becker's 150 great places to work in healthcare.
It's Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
You ever feel like your train of thought's been derailed? That's when you press on, lean in. Half the population just waiting to see me fail. Yeah, right, you better off trying to free.
22 minutes before the hour of 8 o'clock, Jake Query along with Kevin Bowen. It is the creatively named Kevin and Query program here on 93.5, 107.5. The Fan. Kevin, we've talked so much over the last couple of days during the NBA All-Star break about obviously college basketball, Indiana trying to get into the tournament, about my British films class.
Oh, boy.
I'm advanced prepping for that, by the way. Watching Psycho, for example.
I was going to say, how do you do that?
I can't believe don't get in the shower.
Here, Mark Dykton is cringing in the Indianapolis International Airport right now.
And we have not talked a lot about the NBA, but it's getting ready to resume. Pacers will, a lot of games slated for tonight, but the Pacers will get back onto the court. By the way, is your headset going out or is that mine?
No, mine is actually pretty clear today.
I actually am hearing myself as if I'm British. I'm hearing like every other syllable.
Oh, my God. That sounds like might as well jump out the sixth floor window right now.
I don't know what's going on here. Pacers in action tomorrow night against Oklahoma City. Not necessarily a scintillating matchup, but it is intriguing because of who might be on the floor in terms of their combination.
Yeah, it sounds like Malcolm Brogdon will return to action, Jake. He has missed 32 of 60 games this season, which is something we can get used to and have been used to with Malcolm Brogdon. Now, I find it interesting that, again, it looks like he is going to return. I think it's important, more so from a trade value standpoint. I don't know. I'm just kind of done with him, Jake. And I think with Tyrese Haliburton coming here, can Malcolm Brogdon play off the ball? Can he be a nice, more of a supporting piece or a complementary player to Haliburton? Yeah. But I think Brogdon will want to interject his voice too much. And I just see a little bit of like friction in terms of Haliburton maybe a little bit hesitant to kind of take on the full reins of a leader with Brogdon's presence here. So that to me would be a reason that I think I would be looking at moving Brogdon this offseason. Not to mention, Jake, for the umpteenth year in a row, he's Paris Campbell.
That's fair.
You just can't rely on him. And he's making way too much money to be missing, 30% of the season on an annual basis.
I'll be curious to talk to Scott Agness about this point coming up at 8:30. And that is, to me, from an outside observation. Now, I'm not around at shoot-arounds and around them all the time. So I can't speak for Malcolm Brogdon's presence within the locker room. I know that, like, during some of the summer of protests, he was very active socially down in Atlanta. And I mean that as a positive, not a negative. I'm saying, it is not as though he is a recluse. I'm not saying that. But it does seem to me that in terms of just speaking freely and positively, in terms of interjecting confidence and energy in their teammates and being, a leader in that standpoint, that already we've seen more out of Tyrese Haliburton than we typically do out of a Malcolm Brogdon. And I'm not saying that as a knock on Brogdon, but Brogdon does seem to be a more quiet leader, a little more reserved. Whereas Haliburton, I'm not saying that Haliburton's boisterous, but like granted, Haliburton's been asked about it because he's new, right? So he's been interviewed a lot. But Haliburton speaks in terms of, for a young guy, he just exudes a confidence that I think is beneficial to those around him and makes guys want to play with him. I'm not saying they don't with Brogdon, but it just seems that Haliburton has a more natural vocal leadership standpoint.
And I don't want to stunt that. I don't want him to feel afraid of like, man, Brogdon's been in the league for a long time. I respect him. he was the leader before I got here. Like, that would be a little bit of my work. Because I think on the floor, I've always felt Brogdon is better suited to be more off the ball. As a point guard, I just don't think he gives you that true dynamic nature that you need night in, night out. And then I just go back to the health, Jake. Over the last 5 years, Malcolm Brogdon has missed now 32 games, 17, 18, 18, and 34. There just comes a point in time where you're paying a dude $20 million and he's playing in like 30 or 40 games.
Right.
And he's extended. Of course, he gave him that contract extension, which I thought was silly at the start of the season. But it does sound like Malcolm Brogdon will be back tomorrow night. Now, the other injury updates that it doesn't sound like either of these two guys are going to be back, certainly imminent. Myles Turner is going to miss a couple of weeks, said Rick Carlisle. Remember, he had that stress reaction, I guess now, about a month ago? And Jake, with 22 games to go, if you're going to miss a couple of weeks, if you're Myles Turner or if you're the Pacers, you just kind of shut him down?
A lot of that depends upon, Kevin, I think, whether or not they definitively know that he is in their long-term plan. If the Pacers have no question about the fact that, yes, if they've seen enough of Myles Turner's game to know that he is able to... If you look at the players they acquired, Haliburton, Buddy Hield, obviously Tristan Thompson's already moved on, right? And then Haliburton is the only piece that they've acquired that I think they know definitively is a long-term guy. Buddy Hield, I'm curious about to see. Smith is one that contractually they may not have a choice, but they clearly are going in a younger direction. Isaiah Jackson, Chris Duarte, already there. If you know definitively that Myles Turner is part of that puzzle, then you don't necessarily need to see anything from him this year. I do think it's possible that they are still assessing, okay, Turner and Jackson together with this team at a different pace, how is that going to look?
That's where I'm at.
Right. And so I think that they do want to see exactly what that potential looks like, and then determine if this is the summer that you either cement or move Myles Turner. But they need some games in these next 22 to be able to make that determination.
Agreed. I think they definitely need some games because, again, he's the solo big. This is what he's always wanted. How does that look? How does it look with playing with a guy like Haliburton, who I think has shown much more of an ability to get in the lane, much more of an ability to find others on a consistent basis. And, Turner's injury history is not to the Brogdon level, but Jake, it is starting to rise a little bit. This is now kind of the second year in a row where he's missed a large chunk of games, and anytime you have foot injuries with big guys, I think that promotes even more of a red flag.
Let me ask you this. When you talk about their roster, okay, and you look at, you're saying like he's the lone big. If you are able to re-sign Jalen Smith, and I don't know that that's the case.
I mean the lone big in the starting lineup.
Right, okay. But, and I know that Jackson technically is listed more as a forward. But have you seen enough out of Isaiah Jackson, who I think is going to be a wonderful player? Jalen Smith, you've got little sprinkles of the fact that it looks like he can be a contributor.
God, you gotta hope you can bring him back.
But do you have enough body of work from those two to say, if we're going all in on a total rebuild, we can flip Myles Turner for other young pieces? Now, Myles Turner's young. Don't get me wrong. He's not old. But the injury history, etc., do they have enough body of work evidence out of Smith and Jackson to determine if, in fact, they can move on from Turner? Turner's only 25 years old. So, but Jackson's 20, right? And Smith is 21.
You really wish you could throw Goga into that group.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can. I would say if you move Turner, Jake, that might shift a little bit of your...
Could Jackson or Smith, one of those two? Smith probably not. Could Jackson play center?
It's a little risky. I would probably take the risk, but I definitely hear people out and saying, I'd rather have somebody else that can, maybe be a center night in and night out. And at times, Jackson can finish a game, but I still think it's a little premature to slot him in that group. Does that mean you go into the draft, though, Jake, and that's where Chet Holmgren comes into play?
Oh, we haven't done I need to do the...
No, is it Tankathon time?
Yeah, Tankathon time.
Tankathon time here on Kevin. This really should be a sponsored segment, right?
Oh, there's a lot we do that should be sponsored segments. Here we go. This is the draft simulator. Now, again, the Pacers currently sitting at 5th behind Orlando, Detroit, Houston, and tomorrow night's opponent, Oklahoma City.
And the other day, you did move up to 4, correct?
Correct. Now, the Thunder, 18-40, the Pacers at 20-40. This pillow fight will be tomorrow night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So if the Pacers were to lose, they go to 20-41. All of a sudden, now you've only got a game between the two, right? Tomorrow night's a big game. You cannot screw up and win that game. Okay, here we go.
Talk about ESPN breaking into that game.
Oh,
that didn't sound good.
No, I just did it here. Now, this doesn't have... No, wait a minute. The old one used to tell me who they would pick in this situation. So I screwed... Okay, here we go. Let me... It moved them up.
Was that a good O or a bad O? I couldn't...
Well, they're currently 5th. Here we go. I'm spinning it now. Ooh, yeah. No. They had moved up to 3rd, but now... Should I do it one more time? Because now they're up to 7th. Okay, this is the last one that I'm doing. This is the sim lottery on the Tankathon. The Pacers currently sitting at 5th in the NBA draft. Now I do it, and boom. With the 6th pick and the 2022 NBA draft, the Indiana Pacers select Johnny Davis from the University of Wisconsin. Jaden Ivey going 4th to the Sacramento Kings, by the way. It seems as though Jabari Smith, Chet Holmgren, Paolo Banchero, is that how you say his name from Duke?
Sounds good enough to me.
Really good player.
Yeah.
And Jaden Ivey. That I think those are pretty clearly the top 4 players.
Yeah. It is crazy, Jake, and you would know this much better than I. The Pacers right now are 13th in the East. I was looking this up last week. I don't think as a franchise, at least, since we've gone to 30 NBA teams, and I would have to look up when that is, they've never finished lower than 10th.
Isn't that amazing?
Like, this is going to be the worst NBA season the Pacers have had in my lifetime.
Oh, I mean...
And you can maybe even go back a little bit further.
I mean, Kevin, listen, if you go back historically to the Pacers, and this is kudos to the Pacers run once they, the Reggie Miller era moving forward, we're not used to this level of futility, right? But I am an old enough guy to remember. I mean, think about this. In 1983, here's the Pacers roster of 83. You ready for this one? This will be fun for people. You tell me how many of these people you've heard of. Okay, Kevin?
Okay.
This team went a whopping 20-62. Herb Williams was your center.
Yeah.
Good player, right? Actually had the record for a long time for longest NBA shot in history at Market Square Arena. Jose Slaughter was your shooting guard, or one of the shooting guards. He was a rookie. Jerry Seasting, fan favorite. Russ Schoen, Guy Morgan. He was just a guy. Billy Knight. Billy Knight was...
Is he in the league office for...
He was the head coach and GM of the Hawks for a long time.
Okay.
Clark Kellogg, who was a rookie and obviously a very good player, had his knees not given out. George Johnson, Clement Johnson. Late in the games was Clementine. John Duran, Butch Carter, Marty Burns, and Brad Branson. That team went 20-62.
Who coached that team?
That is an excellent question. I believe that team was coached by, Jack McKinney, who had taken them to the playoffs in 81, and then the bottom fell out.
So this Pacers
team... But we're
back
back to that level of futility.
Yeah. It's crazy when you think about it. I got one of those emails the other day of updating the over-under season win totals, like where each team stands
they
at
won't
the
win
All-Star
30,
break.
Will they?
Jake, their win... What do you think their over-under win total was at the start of the year? So you play 82. What do you think Vegas had as their over-under for wins?
For wins?
Yeah.
At the beginning of the year?
Yeah.
41?
42.5.
And they are 20-40. There's 22 games to go. Jake, if they win the rest of their games, they won't reach.
So that's already paid out, right?
If they go 22-0 to end the season, they will not reach their win-loss total, the over-under of 42.5 at the start of the year. And again, I sit here and think this is a massive step back. It is necessary, though. I'm not acting like this is like a horrific thing for the franchise, but when you evaluate it on just the like win-loss record, this has been beyond abysmal this season.
I mean,
compared to what the franchise is used to.
But the thing that's interesting, Kevin, is that they're still kind of interesting.
Oh, well,
with the trade in particular, right?
Now there's life. There's energy. I mean, one of the last home games, I don't know if you were at that Cavs game, Jake. It's like the third quarter, and there's audible defense chants.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is going on right now? No, I think there is renewed energy, and rightfully so, on that front. The last injured name that I wanted to mention, and Jake, you asked this question months ago, and I was like, really? And I think you're going to be right. TJ Warren might never put on a Pacers uniform again.
I told you. Have I not said that forever?
No timetable on his return was the update yesterday. We'll get Scott Agnes's thoughts on that at 8:30. Jake,
I've been saying that. I'm not trying to give myself kudos.
No, that was like early in our show, which started in November. You mentioned that, and I was kind of like, wait, what? I thought like once the calendar turned to 2022, we would see him.
Right.
And now it's not looking like we're going to see him until at least March, maybe even longer. Remember how good he was in the bubble? Down there?
Yeah.
You know how many games he's played since the bubble?
5? Total guess.
4 games for TJ Warren since the bubble. The last time he played an NBA game was December 29th, 2020. So it's about to be 14 months. How many guys do you think in the history of the NBA have ever gone 14 months without playing basketball and regained any sort of quality form?
And here's the thing, when he was really good in the bubble, and he was excellent in the bubble, you know, the word then was, I remember talking to people that said, like, TJ Warren's a guy that just wants to, and he doesn't get caught up in the hub and the glitz and the glamour and the arenas. He just wants to play like pickup ball. Sorry, my morning sneezes are starting.
We're about to hit a break, so
and
try and
so
hold on
he,
to those.
so TJ Warren, did you know that it's impossible to hold, or it's impossible to sneeze with your eyes open? Did you know that's physically impossible?
I did. Don't they tell you back in the day, like your eyeballs will pop out if you try and do that?
Or it's kind of like if you cross them, they get stuck that way. But Warren was a guy that just, like, in the bubble was perfect for him because he just wanted to go out on the court without the and just play. And he was really good. I mean, man, he was great in the bubble.
Yeah. All bubble.
Totally. And then it kind of burst for him, right? Good player and seemingly good guy, good teammate. Just, unfortunately, the feet not cooperating.
And you talk about Myles Turner playing that solo big. I think Warren could be kind of that stretch 4, if healthy, but you gotten to the point now is with him being a free agent, you just cannot rely on that whatsoever. So again, Malcolm Brogdon should be back tomorrow night. Myles Turner still a couple more weeks, and TJ Warren, no timetable on his return. Chris Duarte did not practice, so it looks like that toe injury lingering for Duarte there, but Isaiah Jackson is back as the Pacers have 22 games to go in the regular season. All right, still to come on Kevin and Corey, Scott Agness at 8:30 to talk more about the Pacers and their return to practice. We're going to have Curt Cavin on at 9 o'clock as the IndyCar Series begins this weekend in St. Pete. Jake will be here tomorrow before getting on a plane to head down there. And we'll talk a little bit of IU when we come back here on Kevin and Query. So far, if you guys are worried or interested in what your commute should be like, I didn't think anything too out of the ordinary. Yes, a little bit of dusting, some slush, kind of looks a little dicey, but no delay for either of us in driving downtown this morning. Happy Thursday, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Kevin and Query.
Lay some knowledge.
So Jimmy Irsay and the Colts decide that, well, we're going all in. All our chips are in. Really? You all went all in for years with thousands of dollars for season tickets. Are the Colts all in now, but they weren't all in then? Where were the chips? Were the chips not all in last year? Were the chips kinda in? I was all in. Why aren't you?
Dan Dockage. Weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Mucinex is the #1 OTC brand doctors trust for themselves and their families. So with cold and flu season upon us, why would you use anything else? Available at CVS.
It may be hard to think about your backyard project right now, but now's the best time to get on the books. Your backyard patio experts. IndyDecorativeConcrete.com.
Hey, it's Big Joe reminding you to stock up now at Payless Liquors. Fireball 750s are only $13.99. Canadian Club 175s just $16.99. And Natural Light 30-packs $17.99. At Payless Liquors, Kendall Jackson Vintners Reserve Chardonnay is $9.99. And Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc is $13.99 a bottle. And St. Patty's Day is coming. Slane Irish Whiskey 750s are only $24.99 at all 26 family-owned Payless Liquor locations, open 7 days a week, and online at PaylessLiquors.com. Don't pay more, get more, and pay less at Payless Liquors.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
When you lose your hair, you lose more than just hair. You lose your confidence. But that doesn't have to happen. Today, there are proven medical solutions to stop hair loss, and in some cases, regrow what you've lost. And now you can get them online at 4hims.com, including the very latest treatment, topical finasteride and minoxidil spray. It combines 2 proven hair loss treatments in the only hair loss spray of its kind, and only 4hims.com has it. No more pills, no more messy, time-consuming applications. Topical finasteride and minoxidil spray is only available by prescription, but at 4hims.com, you can connect with a medical provider online who will, if appropriate, prescribe this new spray and ship it to your home. It's that easy. Get the old hair back. Get the old you back at 4hims.com. For a free online consultation, go to 4hims.com/care. Regrow your hair in 3 to 6 months at forhims.com/care. 4hims.com/care.
At Gamebridge Fieldhouse, we protect home court. We battle. As Hayward gets inside, that's blocked again by Turner. Dig deep. Brogdon for 3. Got it! From tip-off through the final buzzer. It's game time at the Fieldhouse.
Tip off your weekend cheering on the blue and gold. Catch the Pacers and Oklahoma City Thunder Friday at 7. Get your tickets at Pacers.com. That's Pacers.com. Pacers Thunder Friday at 7.
Jake Query here. You know, recently I returned to college to finish my degree, and I encourage you to join me. Whether you're like me and life simply got in the way, or you never went to college at all, Indiana offers financial assistance for those ready to move forward. If I can do it, I know you can too. If you're looking for a better job or doing it for your family, Indiana has grants to pay for over 150 certificates in high-wage industries. You're sure to find a tuition-free option that fits you. To apply, visit nextleveljobs.org today. Sponsored by the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. That's nextleveljobs.org.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB, WIBC HD3 W228CX, Indianapolis. The IHSAA Girls Basketball State Finals, Saturday morning at 11 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It's Kevin and Query.
Speaking of rivals, my good friend Tom Brady is here tonight. By the time he is inducted...
On 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Hi there, good morning on a Thursday. Today's Thursday, right, Kevin?
Yes, Thursday.
Thursday morning, it is 8 o'clock. My name is Jake Query. That is the voice of Kevin Bowen. It is Kevin and Query here on 93.5, 107.5. The Fan, you heard Kevin mention it. A little dusting overnight. Roads weren't bad, but you might have to scrape your windshield if your car was left outside, so give yourself a couple extra minutes on your way out, as we were talking about the Pacers getting back to the court tomorrow night, taking on Oklahoma City. Don't know whether or not that will include at any point in the rest of the season TJ Warren. Certainly will not tomorrow night. But also the Colts are always in discussion. We talked earlier in the program, Kevin, about the fact that, you know, ESPN did, ESPN.com, a thing for each franchise, a player that likely will, you know, from this year that will be moved along or that will get a change of scenery. Mike Wells going with Marlon Mack, I think a pretty logical choice there. But you were talking about some possible trade proposals, right?
Yeah, Derek just tweeted this at me, and I thought it was an interesting trade idea that I hadn't really thought too much of here. Derek goes, would you trade one of the big three? So by big three, he means Darius Leonard, Quenton Nelson, or Johnathan Taylor, along with Carson Wentz for Derek Carr.
Okay, give me the proposal again.
So would you be willing to trade one of the big three, Leonard, Nelson, or Taylor, package one of those three with Carson Wentz, send them to the Raiders for Derek Carr?
I'd trade Quenton Nelson tomorrow for a lot of things. I think he's a wonderful player. I think he is again, I think Quenton Nelson is kind of the opposite of this analogy here, but to me, Quenton Nelson is like having a Lamborghini if you live in New York City. It's a wonderful luxury, and people love Lamborghinis, but it's not very applicable in New York City. It's not very practical in New York City.
Especially this time of year.
And, right. Quenton Nelson is a wonderful player, but he was a wonderful player in 1977. A left guard, to me, is just not... It is, again, he's a wonderful player, but they have bigger needs elsewhere at positions that are far more critical than guard.
You trade Leonard or Nelson? Excuse me, Leonard or Taylor?
Yeah, actually, depending on what I got back. I mean,
now is this you?
Would I trade one of those two just for Derek Carr? No. Taylor, I would probably ask for Carr and like a third rounder or something like that.
Is this you being that high on Derek Carr, or is it being those positions aren't of immense value?
It's me feeling like their best course of action is addition by subtraction, and that subtraction is Carson Wentz. So Derek Carr coming in, to me, the detriment of taking out a Quenton Nelson, Johnathan Taylor would be the second of those that I would include. Leonard probably third.
Taylor over Leonard.
Taylor is a unique player. There's no doubt that he can be a game-changing guy. I just don't. I can't get over the fact of it feels like he's a game-changing guy in an era where that position doesn't win you in January.
It's the Super Bowl stat we had last week. Remember?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Not a single leading rusher's made more than $2 million.
What was the leading rusher in the postseason? 88 yards. Joe Mixon, like in the second round. I mean, so. And Leonard to me seems to be the guy that is the most system beneficial. Like a lot of his numbers, I think, are because the system facilitates and funnels players towards him, a la a Gary Brackett. However, Leonard's ability to force turnovers is truly almost unprecedented. And I think that is really valuable. And he comes up with key plays. There's no doubt about it.
And saves the defense. Covers up a lot, I think, on his defense.
But I go back to, Kevin, to answer your question, it's not so much about the fact that I think Derek Carr is this game-changing player, but I think that Derek Carr, one thing about Derek Carr, when I watch, and I've seen a handful of Raider games where after the game he's interviewed or whatever, that guy looks like his teammates love him.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz, I don't get that impression at all. So I think you're upgrading there enough that it offsets the loss of, I think Quenton Nelson is a pretty fungible player. He's an elite level player, but when he wasn't in there and Reed goes over or whatever, I mean, you know, they get consistent
satisfactory.
play.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, maybe even above it. I would probably deal Nelson, Leonard, and Taylor. I would need a little bit more, I think, than just Carr, which. You know, it's kind of tough for me to say because I value upgrading at quarterback so much. And I like Derek Carr, and I agree with you, Jake. I do think I think Derek Carr is, in a way, kind of a mini Phillip Rivers in that these guys just enjoy the love, the joy of the game that the quarterback has, how passionate he is about it, and he might not, align with everybody in the locker room, and he might not be hanging out with everybody in the locker room, but when that player's on the field, there is a rallying around that guy.
I think, okay, let me ask you this. Of those three, Kevin, Quenton Nelson, Darius Leonard, and Johnathan Taylor, which of those three has the highest trade value, in your opinion?
That's a good question. I'd say Leonard.
You think Leonard has the best trade value of those three?
Yeah.
Probably because he's at a position that's most coveted, right?
Right, and that's, Jamie and I were talking about this yesterday. When you look at the 31 other NFL teams and you asked those general managers to rank the importance of positions and how they build, you could probably make an argument that offensive guard and running back would be the bottom two on that list. Linebacker, I think a lot of it will depend on your scheme. But again, Leonard has done Hall of Fame type of stuff through his first handful of seasons and taking away the football. So from that sense, I would think he would merit the most, or you would have other teams that would respect his value as close to the level that the Colts respect value. And really, it's just, Jake, I think back to this Chris Ballard comment before the start of training camp. At that point, they hadn't extended Darius Leonard. They hadn't extended Braden Smith.
Well, and those two, by extending those two, somebody points out to me, it's a good point, that does make the cap hit because of the salary bonus that you gave them. If you were to trade or move on from Leonard or for that matter, Smith, you're looking at like, I don't know, what, 16 and 12 million or something like that.
You're going to open up some cap space. Yeah. No, that is a good point to make.
But you've got to hit because you gave them bonuses, though, right?
Well, I think you got to hit because you are losing some pretty good players walking out the door. But Ballard was basically saying, I don't care where the guy plays, you pay good players. And I'm just curious if that thought process has changed at all. And really, when we hear from them next week at the Combine, do you think watching the playoffs had any sort of impression on them? Do you think seeing
that's a really
those
good
elite pass catchers?
You would think that.
Because Chris Ballard's tone 72 hours after the season ended, he was great, content with his wideout group. Does watching what Jamar Chase did, Cooper Kupp did, we've gone through the wideouts on the final 8 teams. We've gone through the pass catchers on the final 4 teams. It is an unbelievable list of high-level, Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber pass-catching talent. Does that shift the Colts' thinking at all?
I think Chris Ballard and a lot of GMs in football, in any sport really, I think sometimes in particular, look, Kevin, we have talked ad nauseum with the Colts about our questions at the quarterback position. We've talked ad nauseum about questions at the head coaching position. We talked of questions about the defensive coordinator at periods. We've talked about question marks of their wide receiver play. When are we going to start talking about question marks of the general manager?
Oh, I think you got to.
And in addition to that, anyone who is given a first opportunity to do something wants to prove themselves, sometimes at the cost of going against the obvious. And I don't think Chris Ballard is a buffoon by any stretch. But I don't think that he's the boy wonder genius he was painted to be either. I've said this a million times. I think that Ryan Grigson was a guy that came up through the ranks, was carrying around a word processor, staying in budget hotels to scout at the lowest of levels when he first got into evaluating the NFL, and worked his way up into the position where he was probably accelerated in getting an opportunity to run a franchise, and his lack of people skills did him in that regard. So they bring in a guy to counter that almost, that is savvy and smooth and nice looking and got cute kids and wears nice sweaters. You've heard me say all of this. And so people naturally thought, like, this is the guy. Look how polished he is. Thank goodness we have an adult in the room. Everything he says checks out. And he reminds me, Chris Ballard reminds me a little bit of, yes, dated reference here, but in Seinfeld, when Elaine falls for the guy that plays the Wiz in the commercials because he has these starry-gazed eyes that she looks into and she goes into a trance. With Chris Ballard, like, he goes into a press conference and he's got the drawl and he's got these pretty eyes and his hair's perfect and a 5 o'clock shadow, and people are like, this guy is in control. Well, all of that to be said, is it possible, Kevin, long-winded and circuitous here, that Chris Ballard, because he is in a first-year position, a first-job position, first time as a GM, and he's in year 5 or 6 or whatever it is now, that he is insistent to not get involved in a copycat league and to show that he is really competent at his job by going against the grain with the way that he is convinced is going to work because it's going to be his blueprint, not one that somebody gave to him, his blueprint. And the rest of the league is like, okay, do it that way. That's fine.
It better not be the case. You can't be stubborn. You can't act like you're the smartest person in the room. You can't refuse to adapt and adjust.
Is it possible that he's guilty of that?
Gosh, he strikes me as someone that'd be willing to be open-minded in that sense. You know, I asked him that question a month and a half ago. You know, has your building philosophy adjusted at all? And, you know, he starts off the answer with saying, you know, that's a question I've thought long and hard about. But then by the time he answered the question fully, it sounded so much like how he previously would answer his roster building philosophy. So there was a moment of like, I thought about it, but then I thought, you know, I still stand by what I believe in. And again, this was before the playoffs unfolded. So did the playoffs offer another layer to that? You know, when I was on with John yesterday, he you know, kind of referenced Ballard as being phony. I don't know if that's the word I would use, Jake, but I do think this, to the question that you asked me about, you know, Ballard and how he's viewed by the rest of the NFL. An issue I have with Carson Wentz is the Colts have paid him top 10 quarterback money, and he's played like a 20th ranked quarterback.
Right.
Jim Irsay has given Chris Ballard and Frank Reich contract extensions that have given them security that 95% of the NFL would dream of.
Totally.
Dream of being extended through, what is it, 25 or 2026? Something, you know, very long. And yet, the return on it has been middle of the pack AFC.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, and I get the fact, Kevin, I'll be honest.
The seat has to be hot entering this season.
I mean, I'm convinced of this. Part of me is convinced that literally I could pull a Rip Van Winkle, and yesterday I almost did, and go to sleep for like 12 years. And I'm going to wake up.
That's a special talent if you can do that.
Oh, trust me, I'd love to try. And I'm going to wake up in like the year 2034 and turn on the radio and hear like you doing the show with Josh or with Mark. And you're going to take a phone call, and the first phone call you're going to have is somebody saying, the thing about Chris Ballard, though, you got to realize is Andrew Luck completely swindled him and left him at the altar. Yeah, 17 years ago he did. Like, how long do you get for that? Right?
That excuse is out the door.
It has to be.
It has to be.
You just saw a team win the Super Bowl by saying, you know what, we got the number 1 overall pick in the draft that took us to a Super Bowl, and we want to upgrade from it, so here we go.
Well, the last 2 Super Bowl champions, Jake, have had their quarterback for 1 year.
Yeah, exactly.
1 year. Like,
right.
It's not like you have to have some extreme half-decade-long amount of patience.
I mean, it's kind of like when the Colts used to complain or pat themselves on the back about how difficult it was to be competitive as a smaller market team when they get to the Super Bowl and lose to New Orleans, who lost 40% of their population from a hurricane 5 years before. I mean, come on. You know what I mean?
I don't know if you run into this issue, but, you know, when I gave out my cell phone number a few weeks ago, Jake, you know, people text and they don't introduce themselves, and I feel a little bad because I'd like to give credit to the unknown number that I have in my phone.
Now, see, I've got a thing on my phone that tells me, people don't realize this, but it tells me the phone number, who it belongs to.
Oh, geez, is that
like for example,
FBI thing?
It's just part of being a public personality.
That sounds illegal.
Is that what you get for parking downstairs? Did that come with parking downstairs? Well, again, someone texted me, and again, I want to give them credit, and they this is going back to our earlier debate, Jake. Trade Quenton Nelson, multiple surgeries recently, and the upcoming contract. Surgery part.
Write the number down for me real quick here, Kevin. We'll give credit to who it is. Okay.
The surgery part, I think, is something that's worth mentioning. You know,
that's the same one I just got. Tony.
Oh, it's Tony?
I hope I'm saying this correctly. Guglielza?
Oh, geez. Do it again?
Guglielza?
Wasn't that a basketball player, Tom Gugliotta?
Tom Gugliotta, hell of a player for the Bullets. Anthony Guglielza, I believe is the name.
Well, Tony, thank you. For that.
I don't even know if he goes by Tony.
Yeah, well, Anthony, thank you for that. But I do think that's a good point. The health of Nelson. I mean, 3 surgeries, Jake, in the last year for a 330-pound man.
See, now people are sending me text messages challenging me. Well, who am I? I had one person. I used to give my number out on the air all the time, as you know, and I still do.
It is Anthony.
And one person got mad at me and said that they accused me of being non-transparent. And I'm like, dude, you're texting me on a number that I gave out on a radio station. This one says, Jake, who am I? No name available. Says it's a domestic line. Couldn't be a domestic line, obviously.
Now, you've mentioned this, that I think if you were a betting man, you would say Carson Wentz is the week 1 starter. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think because Kevin, here's the thing. That is the one answer that requires no variable. Right?
Okay. So going down that hypothetical, then would the approach be to do anything at quarterback this offseason? Or would the approach be, I'm crossing off all the other needs on that list and we'll worry about quarterback down the road? Like, it'll be Wentz and Ellinger.
Boy.
This fall, but I'm going to go out and I'm going to spend money at wideout. I'm going to get a veteran pass rusher. I'm going to find the long-term answer at left tackle. I'm going to do everything else, but it's going to be Carson Wentz and Sam Ellinger again.
I think it's going to be difficult if you're Jim Irsay and you're on record. We are all in. It's going to be difficult to
in.
All chips in, and that's hard to do without the plane noise in the background.
Can we get the British accent with Irsay?
The Colts are all chips in. We'll rock you. But it's how do you tell your fan base we're all chips in and then come back and just re-rack it, right?
Right. All chips in and your stack of chips is like, I've got a couple of chips I can ante for the next few hands.
Right. But I think if you're Ballard, and this is where I think there is some criticism that is justified of Chris Ballard. There is no other plan. They have no other plan right now. I mean,
you're talking about quarterback.
Yes, unless they trade, and you would think that because in a trade you're trading for quarterback, meaning you are trading Carson Wentz. I don't know how much value Carson Wentz has because the one coach that has been able to awaken skill out of him is the guy that's selling him. So that makes for certainly a buyer's market, and I don't think people are interested in buying, unless it's for nickels on the dollar, Carson Wentz. But if you're Chris Ballard, you have to ask yourself, you really painted yourself into a corner here. You painted yourself into a corner, and if your owner is saying, like, we're moving on from this quarterback, okay, well, then for who? I mean, here's a better question. If Sam Ellinger is the starter, who's your backup? Who's your backup? Do you even have a backup on the roster right now?
Yeah, Sorgi still throwing it out in Tri-West area. I mean, I don't. Yeah, James Morgan is the other quarterback, by the way. Sounds like an actor.
Isn't that who our 401k is with?
I thought it was Merrill Lynch.
I know, but doesn't James Morgan sound like he's my financial guy, James Morgan.
Right. Jan from HR, and then James Morgan is my
that's right.
financial advisor. It's a totally fair point, Jake. Robert says he kind of agrees with you in that you don't address quarterback. You spend the money this year, upgrade everything. Then next year, you worry about quarterback. We'll be in the same situation next year with Jimmy G. Well, one final note that I'll make on this, Jake. And again, Scott Agness is going to join us here in about 10 minutes to talk some Pacers. To me, Ballard has always been so hesitant to swing at quarterback. The swing of Wentz, to me, was a two-strike swing that you're just trying to hit the ball to the opposite field. And that's not how you have to swing at quarterback. Because you swung to try to get on base, but yet the ramifications are what you just said. You're not in a position to make another move this offseason.
Right.
You are limited in what you can do. And I'm of the belief of when you swing at quarterback, that swing has got to be to the fence. Because no matter what, any swing you take at quarterback, the cost of doing business for that position in the NFL, you're going to be limited that next year, i.e. the Colts right now. But if you swing in a big way, that offers more of a return than I think you could have hoped for.
Realistically, if you're talking trade, I mean, you're looking at Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe Derek Carr, And who else? I mean, Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson ain't going to be available. I don't think. I mean, people think that, but
no. I mean, I thought we'd have more dominoes on February 24th than we've had.
Right.
I thought something would have fallen. Last point before Big O Tires, David brings up, I think, a really, really good point. Even if there was a path to keep and support Wentz, he's too mentally fragile to handle what has already happened this offseason.
Totally agree. I completely agree.
Yeah, and this dates back to Jalen Hurts and all of that. Yeah, can you imagine if you're in the Carson Wentz camp, what you've thought of the last month and a half?
Yeah, I mean, totally agree. By the way,
and at the first sign of adversity, the first sign of a hiccup, September, October, you imagine our phone lines, Jake? You know, like it's the honeymoon period Carson Wentz had entering last season is gone. We've got divorce lawyers on line one right now.
It has been 30 years since the Colts have had a quarterback that people were calling in saying, this guy's got to go. It's been 30 years. This guy's got to go.
And for those that believe in Wentz, they always preface by saying he wasn't that bad last year. Anytime you preface that, it's like, well, but.
Yeah, no argument.
Big O Tires SportsCenter update time here on Kevin and Corey.
The SportsCenter update on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan is presented by Big O Tires, the team you trust.
We will begin with this. Last night in college basketball, aside from Colorado State and Wyoming not coming on until the last 7 minutes of the game because Xavier and Providence went to triple overtime thanks to Paul Scruggs hitting a three.
Just imagining you on with your cable provider.
This is bull. Nobody wants to watch Xavier Providence. Try to watch it on my phone. I'm like, come on, man. I just want to see the pokes.
Streaming
Colorado
through
State beat them,
websites.
Probably is a good thing I didn't watch the whole game. And Xavier did go to triple overtime against Providence, but Providence ended up winning that game. I'm predicting right now Providence early exit in the NCAA tournament. They'll be one of the 3 seeds that's bounced early.
Butler loses last night to Seton Hall, so their recent skid continues now. What are they, 6-12, something like that?
Yeah,
in the Big East
13-16 overall, 3-game losing skid for the Dogs.
2 games left of the regular season for them. Bo Hodges did have a career-high 25. Notre Dame beat Syracuse last night, so they hold serve at home. That is important for their resume as they look to be, I think, comfortably on the right side of the bubble right now. We'll see if they can continue that.
Did you think they'd be 20-8?
Oh, hell no.
I mean, Jake, Mike Bray can coach, man.
They're 13-4 in the ACC. I know the ACC is bad, but Notre Dame showed zero signs of that outside of beating Kentucky in the non-conference. They lost to Boston College by like 20 in December. I mean, Indiana, beat them on a neutral floor. You talk about 2 teams that have gone in opposite directions since that. Speaking of Indiana, 6.5-point favorite. You surprised at all by that for tonight with Maryland?
No, Maryland. I'm surprised more just about the season Maryland's had. I mean, it's so weird. Like Turgeon leaving and then Danny Manning coming in, and they've just been circling the drain.
Yeah, they had a 5-game losing streak that actually began with Indiana beating Maryland in College Park last month, but they have won their last 2. Granted, it's Nebraska and Penn State. Indiana played terrific on the defensive end of the floor in that first matchup. So that'll be a 7 o'clock tip. Again, our coverage begins over on WIBC at 6. Other Big Ten action last night. Wisconsin holds off Minnesota, so they are now tied with Purdue, having the tiebreaker currently over the Boilermakers. The teams just behind those 2, the Fighting Illini and the Buckeyes. Illinois at 12-4. I believe Ohio State's at 10-5. Those 2 teams meet tonight at the other Assembly Hall, so that'll be an important one to watch. But this Big Ten regular season, it's going to come down to the final week of the year, certainly. And Jake, Tuesday at the Kohl Center, Purdue and Wisconsin. Whew.
My buddy Bob says that's for the Big Ten title.
Winner of that could very well be the number 1 seed here at Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the Big Ten tournament.
By the way, NBA Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Pacers, that'll be tomorrow night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's a big one in terms of the draft. That's about it, right?
Yeah, big tank. I don't know if they have a dunk tank at halftime, but it is the tank game tomorrow night with the Pacers and the Thunder. All right, we come back. We'll still get into some Colts conversation here in a little bit, but Scott Agness is going to join us next to talk the updates returning from the All-Star break for the Pacers, where things stand personnel-wise going into tomorrow night. Kevin and Corey on a Thursday here, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Sports Center updates on the Fan are brought to you by Big O Tires. Stop by your locally owned and operated Big O Tires and get a $70 rewards card upon purchase of select sets of Michelin tires. Big O Tires, the team you trust.
At HeroLoan.com, we always keep it 100. You can buy a home with 100% financing. That means no money down. You can cash out refinance up to 100% of your home's appraised value. More money for you. And our rates are always 100 times better. If you're VA eligible, get the loan that you've earned and keep it 100 at HeroLoan.com. The only way to VA.
The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
Hey, there's Jake Query. And anytime in the next couple of weeks, if you run into me out in public, you can ask me to break down for you how Mozart's music actually influenced Chopin or vice versa, and how that actually parlayed into Billie Holiday's lyrical performances and vocal performances as a blues and jazz singer. How do I know that? Because I just got done taking a class in music theory and the study of music, all part of the online classes I'm taking at Indiana University, because I am one of 700,000 Hoosiers. That's right, 700,000 Hoosiers who had college credits but did not finish my college degree. For me, some nearly 30 years ago, life just kind of got in the way. I actually had a job opportunity, went for it, and never looked back. And I assumed that those credits expired. They don't. They are out there, and there are 700,000 of you that have probably thought the same thing. It might be that it was money. I understand that. It might be that just simply life got in the way, or all of a sudden you just got overwhelmed as a younger person when it came to school and you thought, you know what, I don't know that I can go back and finish. I'm telling you, if I can do it, you can as well. And I would love to have you Hoosiers join me. 25,000 people, as a matter of fact, this year will be able to complete their degree. And I would love for you to be one of them. Those credits did not expire. You can find out more about the 150 different certificates for high-paying wages that are available in Indiana, meaning that because the state of Indiana is committed to getting people back into school, that likely you can find grants that will help you pay for your tuition. NextLevelJobs.org is where you can find all of this in terms of getting that certification or just simply finishing that degree. It's all brought to you by the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. But again, take a look at it. Just simply see it, and you can be like me. Get back into school online at your own schedule, your own flexibility. NextLevelJobs.org.
Hey, it's JMV, and if you're like me, getting a good night's sleep is really important. But for years, I was sleeping horribly because my snoring. It was affecting my health and my daily life. Everything I tried failed until I went to Aurora Sleep Clinic. At Aurora Sleep Clinic, they set me up with a simple, comfortable, and affordable custom-fit mouthpiece. I wear it at night, and it has incredibly stopped my snoring. I sleep great and wake up refreshed. I love it, and so does my wife. Visit StopYourSnoreNow.com to schedule your free consultation today.
School is in session.
Joe Leonard, why is Indiana still in?
They're not being compared to teams that have A resumes. They're getting compared to teams that have C resumes. If they get 3 more wins, whether it's the regular season opportunities or early rounds of the Big Ten tournament, I think 3 more wins anywhere they can find them is going to put this team in the field.
Dan Dockage, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, Kevin, tell me this band.
Gosh, I probably should know it. This is a song I've heard a lot.
Let's just say that I hope that anytime that you or I have a take on this program, people go, aha. This is Aha's Take on Me, which was the groundbreaking illustrated pencil music video where the guy came to life.
What movie am I thinking of with this?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I don't know it, but I know it is in a movie I've seen really? A lot.
I'll look it up because usually with songs on Wikipedia, it says in popular culture, and then it tells you so-and-so, it was playing in the background in such and such movie. So why don't you bring in our next guest, and I'll look that up and I'll give you an aha moment once I figure that out.
Gosh, look at you, just on top of it per usual. Scott Agness,
I didn't even sleep last night.
From Fieldhouse Files is with us on the Payless Liquors Hotline, joins us every single Thursday, and hopefully back from a quiet All-Star break. Scott, we ran down kind of the updates veteran-wise. Malcolm Brogdon back, Myles Turner still a couple weeks away, TJ Warren, no timetable on that. Okay, let's go with Turner and Warren. I mean, is there a chance we don't see them the rest of the year, Scott? I mean, there's only 22 games.
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. And you can lump in a very different degree T.J. McConnell in that bunch. So, because he had that right hand surgery. So, but yeah, you're running down to the end of the season here, and you're getting awfully close to make decision time. And the thing is, I think, as we've discussed plenty on this show, is there's tons of pros and cons, but mostly if I'm Myles Turner especially, there's really no reason for him to return this season unless he's just completely fine and healed and all good. Otherwise, I'd say you just get to the offseason. Now, with T.J. Warren, I think if you're the Pacers and other teams, perhaps you want to see him play, although I will say if you are the Pacers, one thing you take into account is maybe by not playing, and if you do want to re-sign him this summer, it gives, it doesn't allow him to show off what he can do or if he can do stuff for other teams, which should help your ability to re-sign him. But this dude loves the ball. He's practicing. Like, it would be great to see him out there, but there's nothing conclusive on that front.
You think no Turner the rest of the way would mean he's back next year, or do you think that they'd still entertain some trade offers? Because Jake did bring up a good point. If you move on from Turner, it's not as like ready-made, here's the definite new center for you. There's options in-house. Obviously, you could make a move, trade-wise or draft, but still, you would have a void there. I'm just very curious to kind of, the injury situation certainly altered what you did at the trade deadline. What would no Turner the rest of the year mean for what you do with him potentially in the offseason?
To me, KB, it means we're looking out for his foot here, because big man stress reaction could lead to a stress fracture, which basically is what T.J. Warren has, for example, is what you're trying to avoid. So I don't make any conclusion about what the Pacers are going to do this offseason based on whether he plays or not, because I think it's just simply a health decision more than anything. Now, you're right. You don't have an immediate need or an immediate guy that can step in right there at center. So far, they keep saying that Myles is part of this group moving forward, but we also know Myles is extension eligible this offseason. So I think that's probably that moment. That's probably the trigger point that if nothing gets done extension-wise, then you can absolutely look for him to want to probably move to elsewhere if that's the case. I don't know. We haven't talked to him since the trade either. Now, we did talk with Malcolm yesterday, and he was excited, it's seemingly, I guess, about it, although the first couple things he mentioned was losing friends, losing teammates, losing the guys that went off so suddenly, and then he was stunned to see them go. But, yeah, the best thing, by the way, on the other front with not playing Myles, it means you can finally get a substantial look at Goga, because you have to make a decision on Goga this offseason. You're either in or out. And then Isaiah Jackson, who by the way, should be back after a significant injury, his worst ankle sprain he said he's had in his life. He should be back, and we should see more of him, which we need to.
Kevin, Gross Point Blank? Could it be that?
I don't know.
Okay, Despicable Me 3? Deadpool 2?
Someone said TV show Scrubs. I don't watch that much Scrubs. Maybe it's that.
The Simpsons? It was in The Simpsons.
Okay, maybe it is that.
Scott, I want to go back to the Goga comment. Goga Batazzi to me is intriguing. Scott Agness, our guest from Fieldhouse Files, joins us on the Payless Liquors guest line. Goga Batazzi to me is intriguing because it does feel like we've seen enough to know who he is. But do you think that Kevin Pritchard still sees him and feels like there's more to uncover?
I think there's a little bit more that you may be able to uncover that will come with regular 25 minutes per game type playing time, like learning to play without fouling, getting more comfortable in pick and roll situations. But he does bring a different dynamic, though, with this team, especially think about playing in the East, where you do have significant bigs, size and body-wise, that you do have to put up with. That, I mean, just imagine Joel Embiid against Isaiah Jackson. Do you have any confidence about getting a stop right there? Now, Goga's not much better, but at least he can body him a little bit. But that's the one dynamic I'm thinking is here being in the East, you do have a couple of those bigs that you have to put up with. So that's telling. But no, more than anything, I think it's probably more likely than not that he is gone. But I still think there's a lot of his game that you can uncover a little bit. But we know what the archetype is. We know how he wants to play.
Scott Agness is with us from Fieldhouse Files. Does a great job covering the Pacers, and back from the All-Star break yesterday. The Pacers will be back in game action tomorrow night against the Thunder. Scott, Jake and I were talking earlier. I kind of like Malcolm Brogdon off the ball a little bit more. My worry moving forward in a Haliburton-Brogdon, pairing, obviously Chris Duarte would be involved. Two things with Brogdon. One, the injuries continue to pile up. This year, it's honestly been even more than it has been at other parts of his career. Two, I'd be worried that Haliburton would be hesitant to kind of establish his voice as the leader on this basketball team. I just think natural human instinct, you'd be worried about Brogdon knowing what he was here, what he has been in his career. Do you think that would play into the Pacers' decision-making on possibly moving Brogdon this offseason?
I think those are interesting points, although I would argue on the latter point about leadership is, well, yes, he's been crowned leader. I think that they've lacked that leadership. And so he might be hesitant at first, mostly probably just because of inexperience relative in the league and a new situation, right? You never want to start a new job and then just, be a bull in the china closet or something, trying to ruffle feathers here. But no, this is what if I'm Malcolm, this is what I'm doing to preserve and do more in my career. You play off the ball, you get back to being the type of player he was in Milwaukee, which is contributing in other ways, but not being the dominant ball handler, playing off of it. And that's when he had that 50-40-90 percentage his final year there in Milwaukee. And so this is where I think Malcolm can be maximized rather than being the dominant ball handler, because he can be a playmaker. He can knock down three-pointers, all that stuff. But I think, in my opinion, I think the Pacers have made clear here that this is Haliburton's show. We're rebuilding, not just rebuilding around him, but he's the man, and we'll figure it out here moving forward.
Scott, we might have discussed this earlier, but I'm curious your take on it. Buddy Hield, nice player that they got kind of as a salary match, and so why not write him out? Or a guy that they got and thought, you know what, he is also, along with Haliburton, part of our long-term plan.
No, I think we can repurpose him moving forward. He doesn't exactly fit the Pacers timeline age-wise. He's a great shooter. Immediately comes in and is one of their best. But I think you could probably or hopefully get that a little bit much cheaper, because he immediately becomes the Pacers' most expensive player as well, above Brogdon, which had been the baseline for them. So I would expect, at least at this moment, for them to find it and package Buddy and turn that into something even more, which extends what they're able to get out of this last trade.
Scott, I want to ask this question. Bratzu tweeted this and tagged you in as well, but I'm sure you're so locked into this interview that you didn't see it. He says, can Isaiah Jackson be next to Myles Turner? So Jackson as the 4, Turner as the 5. Certainly defensively, there would be a lot to like with that group. Do you think offensively that's a pairing that potentially could work?
I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of it, yeah, because they're trying to stress his versatility and how he can for one guard almost any position out there. We saw glimpses of that in a very different light, right, with the summer league. But and one thing he's really getting better at is that 3-point shot, which would be important, being that more of a four-man there on the offensive end, being around the perimeter. But I think there's possibilities to that for sure. I just don't know if that's a long-term solution, but it would be something that I'd want to see.
Scott, in terms of the Pacers, look, we know this much. Scott Agness is our guest here. We know that the Pacers are going to have a top, at worst, probably 7 pick. Let's just say that they end up in the 3 to 5 range. Do you think that there's a specific area of need that Kevin Pritchard and Chad Buchanan say, we need this? Or did they simply go best player available because there are going to be a handful of guys that cover a handful of different areas. What direction do you think they go to pinpoint their need?
I think it has to be best player available. When you're that high in a rare situation like this, you get the best talent that this team's had in 4 decades, and you don't think twice about it, I think.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
If you start getting tricky with it, that's when you start making mistakes.
I can see that,
Yeah, and then you see other teams skip over guys because they're already set at wing or point guard. It's like you missed on a generational type player or something. So
you have to hit on available. It. Yeah, you have to hit on the pick. It's just and Kevin Pritchard said a couple weeks ago, Scott, this is one of the biggest drafts, arguably the biggest in franchise history.
I think the bigger question mark, guys, might be that, or not question mark, but the bigger need to hit, Scott, tell me if you agree, is that second pick in the first round, right? I mean, because now you're getting into the territory of you're taking a little more risk at like whatever it's going to be, 21, 22. If you can hit on that one, now, it's kind of like Isaiah Jackson. I mean, you hit on Jackson. Duarte was a good pick, but hitting on Jackson could really pay dividends, and if they can do that twice, then they really have something.
Well,
and don't forget,
I think you need the star, though, from the lottery.
For sure. What were you going to say, Scott?
I was going to say, and you remember you got Cleveland's first. That should be, 18 to 25, perhaps.
And that's early been an area, Houston pick.
Yeah. And then say that again. I'm sorry.
You said, sorry to interrupt. You got that early second rounder as well, so you could maybe package that to move up if you want to, kind of what you did this year in trading Aaron Holiday to get Jackson.
Exactly, but I have more faith that they'll get the first pick right. Within the top 5, let's say. Versus that one area has kind of been rough for them, drafting 23rd. And in fairness, that's a tough one. Yeah. But if you could hit on that, 1 in every 3 times with something memorable, plus that second round pick, then you start having something like in OKC when you turn a draft class into something special, or Golden State, right? And it really nail, like you were saying, Jake, an early second round pick is huge.
It will be 2 games at home out of the All-Star break. The Thunder on Friday, the Celtics on Sunday, and then back-to-back on the road with the Magic. Kind of an interesting scheduling quirk early next week. Scott, as always, thank you, my man.
Yep, you bet. Thanks, guys.
That's Scott Agness right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. Jake, I know JMV and I have gotten into this debate, I'm pro entertaining losses, and he hates that idea. I think where I kind of sit on it is you want to be in the best position possible for if you want to trade up, you don't have to give up as much. If people want to trade up with you, they've got to give up more. And I want to be in the position where I decide between Peyton Manning or Ryan Leaf, not I'm sitting at number 2 and that choice is made for me.
Totally.
And this is a drastic comparison, but I don't want to be the Pistons sitting at number 2 and I get Darko Milicic. I want to be sitting there as high as possible and I make the decision for myself. Again, I know cheering for losses is weird, but that's how I look at things right now with the final 22 games. Are we really going to care if the Pacers win 29 versus 27 games this season?
I just think, agreed. Look, the last time the Pacers drafted, and we've discussed this before, the last time the Pacers drafted in the single digits, do you remember the pick?
Had you hit puberty?
Yes.
George McCloud?
Correct. So George McCloud came out of Florida State. Dick Versace was the coach of the Pacers. And they had watched George McCloud, and I can't remember if McCloud came out after his junior or senior year. I think he might have been a 4-year player. But George McCloud had played a lot of ball handling position at Florida State as a junior, and so they were convinced, Dick Versace and Donnie Walsh were convinced that George McCloud could play point guard and that he was going to be a 6'8" point guard for the Pacers, and that was going to change their fortune because they had Reggie Miller, and at that point I think they still were holding on to Chuck Person as well. And what they didn't watch a lot of was George McCloud in his last year at Florida State where he played off the ball. And so they went with him. And they totally missed because he could not play point in the NBA. Now, he later resurrected. And George McCloud also, when he was drafted here, Kevin, Both of his parents passed away within like a year of his being drafted. I mean, things just from a personal standpoint, there were a lot of challenges for George McLeod, but it didn't work out. He ended up in Dallas and resurrected his career after, I think, a stint in Europe as a shooting guard and became a really nice player. But they missed on that, and that set them back a little bit. And it wasn't until they drafted Dale Davis in 91 that kind of opened things up for Reggie Miller. They traded Chuck Person. They got other pieces. Derek McKee was a key piece as well, that everything came together. So they were forced to have to go into a combination of free agency and trades as opposed to the draft itself. It set them back when they missed on that top 10 pick because they didn't go with the best player available. They went with the one that they thought was the best need for what they wanted, and it didn't work. So you wonder if now, some 30-plus years later, the first time they're going to be drafting inside the top 10, that probably, to your point, means you got to go best player as opposed to best need.
And I think the NBA draft is such a crapshoot, Jake. You try to get a little too narrow-focused, and you're going to lessen your chance of hitting on that pick as well. Jody, John, we'll get back into the Colts conversation with you guys when we come back here in the 9 o'clock hour. Curt Cavin to talk the IndyCar season debut at St. Pete. Kevin and Query, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
I'm Ed, Shane Company's lead diamond buyer. One thing I'd love our customers to know is that no fewer than 5 sets of expert eyes examine your diamond. No other jeweler does this, and this is how we can offer you the most beautiful diamonds. We're always traveling to the diamond capitals of the world, where our long-standing relationships allow us to look at the diamonds as they're coming off the stonecutter's wheel. We get first pick of the prettiest diamonds in every grade. We negotiate the best price and pay in cash to get you the best value. All of our diamonds are conflict-free and natural. Unlike lab-grown diamonds, natural diamonds have consistently maintained or increased in value over time. There's so many reasons to feel confident about choosing a Shane Company diamond. No other jeweler works as hard or cares as much as we do. With the largest selection of diamonds in every price range, you'll easily find a stunning diamond that speaks to you.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
Cambridge Fieldhouse is our house.
Turner the rebound, puts it in.
We protect our house.
Here's another three. Schwartz!
Along with 18,000 of you every day. We thrive on your energy.
He's going to step back, a three, count it!
We are gold-blooded.
It's an Eastern Conference showdown when your Pacers host the Boston Celtics on Sunday. Enjoy an early tip-off at 5 p.m. Get your tickets at Pacers.com. Pacers, Celtics, Sunday at 5.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
When you lose your hair, you lose more than just hair. You lose your confidence. But that doesn't have to happen. Today, there are proven medical solutions to stop hair loss, and in some cases, regrow what you've lost. And now you can get them online at 4hims.com, including the very latest treatment, topical finasteride and minoxidil spray. It combines 2 proven hair loss treatments in the only hair loss spray of its kind, and only 4hims.com has it. No more pills, no more messy, time-consuming applications. Topical finasteride and minoxidil spray is only available by prescription, but at 4hims.com, you can connect with a medical provider online who will, if appropriate, prescribe this new spray and ship it to your home. It's that easy. Get the old hair back. Get the old you back at 4hims.com. For a free online consultation, go to 4hims.com/care. Regrow your hair in 3 to 6 months at forhims.com/care. 4hims.com/care.
Basements get a bad rap. Probably because so many of them are wet, leaky, and musty. Thanks to screenwriters, crawl spaces aren't very popular either. Michaelis is putting an end to the horror show. Their time-tested waterproofing systems eliminate and prevent water issues. Damp and moldy becomes clean and healthy. And their French drains, vapor barriers, and encapsulation techniques turn crawl spaces into a Disney set. Yeah, okay, that probably went a bit far. But with over 35 years experience, they have a lot of homeowners enjoying their basements again. Think Michaelis. And think how nice it would be to get rid of foundation cracks, basement leaks, damp smells, and all the nightmares that come with them. Water, storms, fire, and foundations. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Call 844-FIX-INDY. Make it Michaelis.
Illinois and Ohio State clash in Big Ten basketball action. Tonight at 8:45. on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We're going to have Curt Cavin here in about 15 minutes to talk the IndyCar. Jake will be heading down to St. Pete tomorrow afternoon after the show for the series debut, or I guess season debut is how I should say it. And then it's what, kind of a month off after that, Jake?
Yeah, and then that's correct. And then Texas is second. So
was it Barber? Is that before
I love
Indy
Barber
as well?
Yeah.
We get 3 races in, I think, before.
People ask me a lot, hey,
maybe
like what's a good race to go to on the road? Barber's way up there. By the way, are your headphones, I'm telling you, is it the headphones or the jack here?
I think it's the jack more than anything. Just keep on. Keep on massaging it.
It was tough. When we take callers, it's hard for me to hear what they're saying.
You've gotten the good parking spot. You've gotten the good chair. We've got to sacrifice somewhere. It's like the Colts. You got to sacrifice somewhere. And interior offensive line needs to be your headset. Speaking of the Colts, Jody and John have been hanging on with us for quite a while. Jody?
It's like the original vaccine, J&J. Right?
Yeah, it is. It is like that. Boy, that could spark some more phones.
That's right.
Jody, you want to talk a little Colts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think quarterback-wise, not a lot of people talk about it. It's been brought up before, but why not go after Matt Ryan? I think they would trade him, maybe give him Wentz in a 3 or Wentz in a 4, and if they don't want Wentz, maybe a 3 and a 5. Or I think Atlanta would work with someone, and he's got 2 good years left. He's exactly what we need, somebody that, our offensive line, he doesn't have to run a lot. And he's real accurate. And he's a good quarterback. I think that's what we need. Then they could go after a receiver, obviously, and then maybe an end rusher. I mean, in my opinion, Matt Ryan would be our best bet if we could get him.
Jody, the Matt Ryan cap hit is $48 million.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, wow. It's shocking.
I agree with Jody, though. He's a nice player.
He's a nice player, and I've always thought this, and thank you, Jody. Jake, with the Band-Aids, can they get you to Super Bowl level? Brady, Stafford, yes. I don't think Matt Ryan is there, and then you think about that cap hit, and it's just, boy, that's huge.
Another name we haven't discussed a lot? Kirk Cousins, yay or nay? Seems to me to be kind of like a...
Nay.
Yeah, Cousins to me is an interesting one because Minnesota went all in to get him.
Nay, by the way, is probably the best horse sound or the best animal sound my daughter can make so far.
Really?
Big Nay fan.
Does she know it's the sound the horse he makes?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she just goes with Nay, or does she get Nay?
Honestly, that was good, by the way.
I have an excellent way of manipulating the vocal cords there, yeah.
Indiana Downs should hire you or something. It sounds like Cousins is staying, by the way. Kevin O'Connell, their new head coach, is giving
it gives you pause if he's available because of what Minnesota, how recently they went out to get him and what they gave up to get him. Or, just not gave up, but the fact that they invested in.
Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen aren't here either,
Right.
And it's kind of like Wentz in a way. Is this a third chance to resurrect him? A la, what was it, Washington, Minnesota.
That's the bigger question is who would want Wentz? Right?
Yeah, maybe the Steelers with the Mike DeCourcy conversation yesterday. John, you're putting blame on multiple parties for this situation?
Absolutely. I'm putting most of the blame on Reich. The fact that he's the one that wanted Wentz to come in and now he's throwing Wentz under the bus speaks volumes about him and his character. Wentz by no means is blameless. No way. He definitely did not do as well as I thought he could do. But I did see little signs. But how about the fact that Kenny Moore in the Jaguars game, he got beat like he stole something.
He was awful in those final couple games.
And the offensive line I thought was horrible this year in pass blocking. In run blocking, obviously, they did a decent job. Otherwise, Taylor wouldn't have led the league. But I think our edge rushers need to start doing what they were paid to do, putting pressure on. I think Darius Leonard needs to do a better job. I know he had a lot of turnovers, and that's great. But how about all the little things?
bigger picture? How about the fact that our secondary teams are wide open? Their receivers are wide open, and there's no one around them for many yards. So their yak was unbelievable. Frank Reich, he needs to get his head out of his rear end and start coaching and start developing Wentz a little more. And I think we would be okay. I mean, the 2017 Jaguars proved that a very strong defense can cover up a bad quarterback.
That's the question,
and
though,
I think Wentz is better.
That is the question.
Bortles.
Thank you. Yeah, I would agree. Carson Wentz better than Blake Bortles, but that Jacksonville D-line was incredible. And Kwity Paye, Dayo Odeyingbo. I don't think there's a more important pair of players on this roster heading into next season. If they develop, if they take a big jump from year 1 to year 2, then all of a sudden you could have a defense that has some January pedigree. And I don't think they've had January pedigree in recent years. A flash here or there, but not what you need it to be. Especially with Gus Bradley not wanting to blitz.
You sound British in my earpiece here with my British, because say right there what you said about Kwity Paye, and then I'll tell you how I hear it.
Kwity Paye, no more important player on this roster heading into next year in terms of development.
No more important. Now that's what I'm hearing.
This is going to be an issue because we have a guest coming up.
It's Curt Cavin, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Curt and I've had so many conversations, I can know what he's saying with every third word. I'm used to that by now.
Deanna Rossini from ESPN, Aaron Rodgers will be informing the Packers of his decision soon. I'm told there are multiple teams with offers on the table, but of course nothing can happen until the Green Bay Packers allow a trade. Would the Colts be an offer on the table?
Sure. What are they going to give up for Aaron Rodgers?
Hey, this goes back to...
Like 3 number 1. I mean, what are the Packers going to want for Aaron Rodgers?
This goes back to Derek's point earlier, Jake. You got to hope. Without that first-round pick, you got to hope they would want one of those players.
Right.
Would they want a Leonard, Nelson, Taylor? And don't tell me for 1 second that Chris Ballard would not be answering phone calls. Everyone on this roster is touchable. No one.
Especially for Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly. All right, we come back here on Kevin Aquari. It will be Curt Cavin going to join us to preview the season opener for IndyCar down in St. Pete. Kevin Bowe and Jake Query, Josh Mullinex on a Thursday, 9 o'clock hour coming up.
Put on your helmet. It's about to get real.
I'll say it. This might be the Carson Wentz experiment, the worst move the Colts have ever made. Name me a word. You guys get mad about Todd Harriman. You guys are mad about Andre Johnson. This is the worst move, if they get rid of him, the Indianapolis Colts have ever made.
Dan Dockage, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Are you feeling the pinch of higher prices?
Costs may be rising, but with Golden Oak Lending's 2.25% fixed rate, you can lower your mortgage payments.
James Hawkins here, president of Golden Oak. You can offset today's high prices by using the low-interest equity in your home to pay off credit cards, make home improvements, or simply put cold hard cash back in your pocket.
It only takes a few minutes to see if you can save hundreds with this low 2.25% rate.
So what are you waiting for? Lock in our low rate while you still can. Start saving money and skip your first 2 mortgage payments.
Call your local loan officers at 317-706-GOLD today and pay nothing out of pocket.
That's right. If we can't close your loan, the appraisal is no charge.
NMLS 114937, 2.25% fixed, 3.336% APR, FHA 15-year mortgage with 20% equity and approved credit.
Jake Query here. Recently I returned to college to finish my degree, and I encourage you to join me. Whether you're like me and life simply got in the way, or you never went to college at all, Indiana offers financial assistance for those ready to move forward. If I can do it, I know you can too. If you're looking for a better job or doing it for your family, Indiana has grants to pay for over 150 certificates in high-wage industries. You're sure to find a tuition-free option that fits you. To apply, visit nextleveljobs.org today. Sponsored by the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. That's nextleveljobs.org.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB. WIBC HD3 W228CX. Indianapolis. The Pacers return from the All-Star break by hosting the Oklahoma City Thunder. tomorrow evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It's Kevin and Query.
If we die together.
Yeah.
You can get it done. You can get it done. What's more, you gotta get it done.
On 93.5.
Boom, baby!
107.5 The Fan.
9 o'clock hour here in Indianapolis, for that matter, anywhere in the Eastern time zone. Jake Query along with Kevin Bowen. Josh Molnick's running the big board. I'm able to hear...
You got duct tape for the headset? What are you going with here?
Good Lord. I think it's the headset. I don't think it's the jack, right?
Really? Do we have another one in here, Josh? I guess we probably should have done that during the break.
We'll see if that's the issue, right? Joining us now on the Payless Liquors guest line, and I'm sure thrilled to be doing so with that savvy intro. He is with the NTT IndyCar Series. Of course, you also hear him along with Kevin Lee with Trackside on this radio station discussing racing in general, but notably this weekend, St. Petersburg, Florida, Curt Cavin will be there for the season opener for the series. Curt, first off, Kevin was mentioning, I'm excited to be heading down to Florida, but it is a little early this year, right?
Well, it is, and I got to thinking about it. It might be the actual perfect time to have a race on NBC because the NFL's over, NBA's quiet, college basketball's not rolling yet. I don't think there's a major golf tournament this weekend. NASCAR's done with Daytona. They're on the West Coast anyway, and the Olympics are over. I mean, it might be the perfect time to capture people's attention.
Yeah, that is a really good point. It is kind of we have this week every year. It's been pushed back a little bit, but yeah, the mid to late February is kind of a rare quiet time in the winter. So yeah, our coverage will begin at noon on Sunday from St. Pete. Curt, if I was going to throw out a most to prove, whether it's individual driver, individual team, or I guess team, I should say, who would you categorize as they have the most to prove entering 2022?
So it's Andretti Autosport. They've been so good, for so long, and they've really kind of hit a dry spell. Colton Herta kind of salvaged the season, if you will, last year by winning 3 races, which obviously very impressive. But Alexander Rossi, to get, to drill down a little bit, he's going to contract year. He's talked about that. Does he stay with Andretti? Does he go to Ganassi? He's got about 3 months here to kind of make that decision and to, really solidify, his next contract. He'll make that decision, I'm sure, by May, early June. And so I think you start with that team and that driver.
Curt, I couldn't believe it. I said this to Jake the other day. It's been 2.5 years since Rossi last won. He only had 1 podium last year.
Yeah, he had some races where he was a little more of a factor, but you're right. It's been a really dry spell, and they've been so good at Indy as well, and last year not as much, and so you go through all the different boxes that you'd want to check, and Andretti's got a lot of them that have really been left open the last couple of years. So I think it would start with them, but it's such a competitive field that I was looking at like drivers that finished 8th and 9th and 10th last year, and you'd say, well, those guys ought to be 3rd, 4th, 5th, and it's difficult to move up. So, he's going to have to accomplish this, get back on his winning ways in a crowded field.
Curt Cavin is our guest talking about the upcoming NTT IndyCar Series season. For those that are unfamiliar, Curt, Jack Harvey is a driver that was previously driving for Michael Shank Racing, which means that he had basically Andretti technology and access of information to the Andretti team. He now goes over and joins Graham Rahal with that team. That frees up in his ride for Simon Pagenaud to come over and team up with Helio Castroneves. Which of those 2 drivers are you most intrigued to see how they acclimate to their new team?
Well, it's Simon Pagenaud and Helio Castroneves. I think Helio hadn't had a great kind of street course performances over the last couple of years because he just hasn't had many of them. And so I think the combination of Helio and Pagenaud will be really fascinating this year. That Meyer-Shank team is, they're growing, and they're growing quickly. I think Harvey and Graham will be competitive, but I think more eyes are going to be on the pink team, if you will, Pagenaud and Castroneves.
He's Curt Cavin. You hear him on our airwaves once a week on Trackside with Kevin Lee. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Curt, if you looked at if you're a casual sports fan and said, all right, there's 20-some drivers in every race, and you looked at Jimmy Johnson's results from last year, you would be like, oh, that's a terrible season. But I feel like I listened to you guys talk about it, and you're like, no, I mean, he actually did a lot of positive things. What would be your expectations for him now in year 2, results-based, considering he's also doing a full season?
Well, it's how he does on the ovals, and particularly Indianapolis, which is part of the reason why Indianapolis is just going to be nuts in terms of attention and interest and intrigue, because Jimmy's going to be competitive at Indy, and he ought to be competitive at Texas. So as you look at those 2 or 3 or 4 oval tracks, I mean, where Jimmy performs there is going to be fascinating, good or bad, medium, hot, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be it's a fascinating case study, because this would be like I can't even really come up with something. I mean, you're talking about an all-time stock car driver coming over and trying to essentially dribble with his other hand or throw a pass with his other hand. I mean, he's doing something completely different, and to me, it's been really interesting to watch. Look, I understand Jimmy's not going to be there on the road courses and the street circuits, because those guys he's competing with have been doing it their whole lives, and they're so good at it. But just him trying this at age 45, he's almost 46. It's you think about what it has to take from an ego standpoint to try something like that. And again, really fascinating. But the ovals are going to be where his season is judged this year.
Curt, in terms of the Indianapolis 500, and I know that every year we do this, right? How many cars are they going to have? Is there going to be bumping? Or we had Doug Bulls on the other day where he said that as of now, and I think we all know that we're still in a position where things might be fluid, but as of now, the plan is for the Indianapolis 500 that it is going to be, no limitation on seating, etc. So as much a return to normalcy now as probably we have seen. But in terms of the 500 storylines and car count itself, we stand in where, aside from the Jimmy Johnson story?
We're going to be just at 33, 34 probably, maybe 35, but I think it's going to be 33 or 4. And honestly, I think, as I listen to you say that, and you and I have been so immersed in this sport for so long, that I think we get too focused on that, how many cars and who gets bumped. And I know that's an interesting thing for those of us really inside the sport. But you think about the 3 elements of this Indy 500. A return to normalcy with the crowd for the first time since 2019. An Elio Castroneves going for his 5th, and Jimmy Johnson in this field. 3 remarkable stories that once you get past, the car count story for the insiders, I think those 3 elements are going to make this a great Indy 500.
Curt, what do you think happens again? We see an F1 driver in the Indianapolis 500 or a NASCAR driver in the Indianapolis 500?
I think you could see both. Look, I think Kyle Larson is farther down the line maybe than I've even given the story credit for. I think that the flow of drivers from one sport to another right now feels as open as I've seen it, and I think we could see any number of people maybe taking a shot at another discipline, whether it's
as early as this year.
No, not this year. I think we're past that for this year. But I think next year it is certainly in play. And I think we will continue to see F1 drivers who are, maybe 28, 29, 30 years old, still in the prime of their sport, but not, able to run for one of the top 2 or 3 or 4 teams. And they don't have a great place to go, but they could come here and run for Ganassi or Penske or Andretti or anybody else for that matter, like Grosjean has done. So I think we'll see some flow back and forth between the sports.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Curt Cavin. Curt Cavin, our guest on the Payless Liquors guest line. The name that everybody has wondered about for the 500. And I will freely say, if I was wrong, and maybe I'm naive here, Curt, I still believe there is a chance. And I know that he has said, it's too late now because I can't be competitive without the proper ride. If Roger Penske had an availability and Kyle Larson was there, I still think he possibly could run this year. Am I totally out of my mind?
No, I don't think you're totally out of your mind this time, although you did probably break my headset, because that's my seat, by the way, on Tuesday night.
You know what? The new headset seems to be working, so it's a headset problem. These headphones are broken. That's what we know. It's not the jack, so you're good.
I think it's very slim for Kyle this year, but I think if he's going to do it, it'll be with Roger Penske's team. Roger's down to 3 cars now instead of 4, so they certainly have the infrastructure to do it. I just think we would have heard enough true whispers about it for 2022, and I haven't heard those as close as I am to the sport. I haven't heard those whispers, but it could still happen, but I think it's pretty unlikely for this year. I think if we're going to see him do it, I think you'll see him test. I think you'd see Kyle test next fall, and he would run, maybe go run Texas or something and give it a good day's effort. And IndyCar has done a good job of providing those tests to people who want to dabble in it, so to speak. So I think you'd see him test in the fall before he ran the Indy 500.
Curt, final one from me, and this is our P1 listener, Jeremy Bullard, who tweets this in. He goes, Graham Rahal will finish in the top 3 of the championship this year. That is his bold pick of the year. How bold of a pick is it to say? I think Rahal was 6th and 7th each of the last 2 years.
Yeah, I don't think he can get that high just because of the crowded field that we're talking about. I think a bold one for me would be that Marcus Ericsson would win the championship. That would be my bold one.
He had a couple wins last year.
He did win a couple of races. Ganassi's going to be very strong. This is his 4th season. I think that's really a bold pick. I don't know that Graham could get there, but I think he could get to the top 5. I think there's a lot of guys that could get to 5 or 6, but to get to top 3 would be, with Colton Hurd, a Pato Award, Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, Alex Palou. There's already 5, and we haven't even gotten to Rossi and Power, and it's a whole long list. I thought your last question might be about Carson Wentz. We've gone a long time without asking about that.
Is there a chance that Roger Penske could trade for Carson Wentz?
Yeah, exactly.
We got to tie it all together, right?
You give up the 4 holes inside the track.
Hey, Curt, here's a question for you. Who is the Carson Wentz of IndyCar? Who is the driver that has their back against the wall, things didn't go their way, people are questioning it, and they've got one chance left to try to salvage it and show that they belong where they are?
Wow, that's I don't know that I can come up with one. I'll tell you this one though, that'll be a fascinating watch. Is Elio still competitive week in, week out? I mean, obviously he's going to have a ride for the Indy 500, but I think as he runs a full-time season, he certainly, he seems to defy age, but we're about to find out if Elio still got it for a full season and week in, week out competitiveness. I think that doesn't fit the Carson Wentz description, but I think this will be a really interesting watch for Elio.
The names I was thinking about, Jake, they all have the Indy 500 though on the resume, and Wentz doesn't have that. Like a Rossi, who's kind of been in a bit of a rut. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Pagenaud and Power maybe haven't reached the normal level that we're used to with them in recent years. But again, they still have the
Curt Power was
500 on the resume.
Certainly, Power has a better resume over the course of his career than Wentz. But to your point, Kevin, Will Power's one that kind of it seemed like each weekend last year, Curt, in my mind, it was kind of boom or bust for him, right?
Yeah, I agree. And he only won one race and only won one pole, which for him is a down year. Yeah, I think Newgarden continues to impress as Power's teammate, and so they have one fewer cars running in that stable now, and Power's another one that, but again, his resume is so good that I don't fit it. And again, Elio, the same thing. His resume, 31 race wins. I think we forget that in addition to winning 4 Indy 500s, he's won 31 times. There's only like 8 or 9 guys that have done better than that in terms of the standings. So, but Elio and Power will be two that, we may be closer to the end of their full-time careers than in the middle.
I know you guys juggle Pacer schedule this time of year. Is it Tuesday for Trackside?
I think so. I go when they tell me to go, and I think it's Tuesday next week and Mondays for a couple of races or a couple of weeks after that. But we certainly enjoy it. I think we're into like 14 seasons now, doing the 15, I think, and approaching 1,000 shows. So it's been awesome. a long run.
Numbers we'll never see.
I was going to say, Jake, boy, you talk about fantasy land. That it is a great listen, something I tune into every single week. Curt Cavin, Kevin Lee on Trackside, and Curt is with us here. Looking forward to Sunday, Curt, and thank you for hopping on with us.
All right, see you, fellas.
That's Curt Cavin right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. Jake, for those, I think 90% of our audience knows that you are on the IndyCar radio network. Same crew this year, I guess. Can you kind of explain a little bit of what that entails?
It is. Thank you for asking. So Mark Janes is, again, the chief announcer or the anchor for the IMS radio network. And then we have basically three guys who serve in the turns. That's myself, Michael Young, and Nick Yeoman. Now, we rotate a little bit just based on, we're kind of still coming out of the COVID protocols in terms of the budgetary and the travel stuff that goes into that. So Nick and I will alter or will kind of hand off back and forth. I'm traveling to like half the races, and Nick will stay back here and do them with Mark off monitors. And then Nick will do the ones that there are some races while I will be back here in Indy. I'll never go on the road, and I will do those off of monitors as well. Michael will be traveling to all of them, I believe. And then in the pits, we have Ryan Marine, Alex Wolf, who joined us last year and does a really good job. Rob Blackman joins us for some races. Scott Sander joins us for the Indianapolis 500. So the group itself is pretty much the same. Laura Steele does some stuff in terms of our voice imaging work and introductions and things like that. And there will be people that will come in and out, but that's the main core. And Sam Rumps is our producer. Chris Pollock is the general manager. So it's the same group. And then for Indy, obviously, Denary joins us in turn 4. But I will say, Kevin, it's a ton of fun. There's no doubt about it. It takes some getting used to each year to get back into the rhythm of knowing the cars and instinctively when you see the car knowing what driver it is, because they change color schemes and everything else. But it's a lot of fun. I enjoy the travel of it. I enjoy the stuff that we're able to see away from the racetrack and the stuff that it affords me. I look forward to it. It's obviously, this time of year, it's good. Just even though it's a quick trip in and out to St. Pete, just to be down there is good. Well, and people ask me a lot, as I was saying, what tracks are fun to go to. Long Beach is a must if you're a racing fan, but Barber is very cool in Birmingham. Birmingham is a cool city. That facility is awesome, and they have a great museum of, if you're into cars and motorcycles and that kind of thing, they've got a cool museum there.
I think I have this right. The order before May, which obviously the road course 2 weeks before the Indy 500, St. Pete, Texas, Long Beach, Barber.
Correct.
That's a pretty good.
That is
4 to start, right?
Yeah,
and the oval in there is Texas.
See, that's it. I mean, to get the oval, and I know Texas, that comes earlier than usual, but I think it was important for them, especially even for like a Jimmy Johnson standpoint, to get people an oval race under their belt before coming to Indy.
Again, our coverage noon on Sunday, green flag, I think 12:30, 12:35 from St. Pete. All right, let's hit a Big O Tires SportsCenter update before the pop quiz.
The SportsCenter update on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan is presented by Big O Tires, the team you trust.
In terms of college basketball last night statewide, Kevin, bottom line is there are two teams that we talk a lot about when they are playing, Notre Dame and Butler. 2 different results for those 2 teams last night.
Yeah, Notre Dame held serve at home against Syracuse. They continue to build a really nice ACC resume, 13-4 in the conference. I think Joe Leonard last had them as a 9 seed, so they've got a couple of, on paper, easy home games to end the year at Florida State as well. So Notre Dame is looking like a tournament team unless they fall on their face here to end the season. Butler, unfortunately, has done the latter. They lose last night at Seton Hall 66-60. I guess if you bet on the game, Butler did cover the 9.5-point spread. But the tailspin continues to happen for LaValle Jordan.
And elsewhere around, and Scotty did have it on the sheet. My apologies to Scotty John Stoney, who I said did not have this on the sheet that he gives us with
Maybe
scores.
Your eyes were so scarred by it,
You're
you just
right.
missed it.
Loyola of Chicago last night moved to 22-8, 13-4 in the Moval with an 82-31 win over 2-15 in the conference, Evansville. The Aces 6-22, 82-31 Jesus. Evansville did not have a player in double digits.
31 points. 41-12 at half. And then they got hot in the second half, Evansville. They scored 19.
I mean, that's unbelievable. And I know that Todd Licklider walked into a difficult situation, and I love Todd Licklider. But
6 wins on the year for the Purple Aces. Christian Lander a Purple Ace next year?
You know, that's a really good question. I was having a discussion with somebody yesterday about Christian Lander and whether or not he'd be back at Indiana. And it's so funny you mentioned that, Kevin, because the person I was talking to said, you know, with Evansville, with the uncertainty there, you would think, like he said, if a Calbert Chaney got hired at Evansville, then you would think Lander would possibly think about going back there.
Speaking of the Hoosiers, tonight they are a 6.5-point favorite against Maryland. Trace Jackson Davis yesterday previewing a game that is in the must-win category in terms of NCAA tournament hopes.
We're hungry. Ohio State, that's a game that we should have won. Both of those teams, Ohio State and Wisconsin, both games that went down to the wire. We had a lead, 2 to 3 minutes left. We just got to finish them out. So they're both top 25 teams and just shows how close we are as a team to success. So Maryland, they've been playing really well lately, coming in here, and we just got to take it to them, honestly. There's ain't no other way to put it. So it's time to get the bad taste out of our mouth because we're really tired of losing, honestly.
Is Hoosier Nation...
We love this losing stuff. It's awesome. Yeah. We want to keep on.
Hoosier Nation nodding in agreement or cussing in agreement?
I think they're probably thinking, hey, I'm glad that Trace Jackson Davis is aware of their difficulties in the final minutes because the team has done nothing to get him the ball, right?
Yes, agreed. Boy, he does make a good point, though, Jake. Wisconsin, Ohio State sitting on a platter for you late in that game.
No question.
And now it'll be Maryland tonight, 5-11 in the Big Ten. The Terrapins, they have won 2 in a row. Trace mentioned that, beating Nebraska and Penn State. They played on Monday as well, so I don't think it'll be too much of a 2 games and 3 nights for these 2 teams. Purdue has got the week off, but they did watch Wisconsin join them at the top of the Big Ten last night. Wisconsin beat Minnesota by 1, and I guess technically from a tiebreaker standpoint, the Badgers are number 1 right now in the Big Ten. A big one tonight, Ohio State and Illinois. That is for potentially, I think, 3rd place in the Big Ten there.
Big Ten's deep, man.
They do have kind of that top 4 or 5, Jake, that you feel pretty good about. And then from a team that is coming on, and it's a name that I don't think has popped up in your Tankathon simulations. But the more I watch Iowa, Jake, Keegan Murray.
You're right. Iowa is playing,
And you talk about like a present day, long, 6'8", not kind of like Johnny Davis, not a very heralded recruit, and some development that's certainly happened there. Keegan Murray's an intriguing NBA prospect, not to mention Iowa. Looks to be a definite tournament team.
I think we need to do the simulator again.
Oh, okay. One more.
This is the Tankathon simulator. You said Keegan Murray. They have him right now. He is slotted 8th to the San Antonio Spurs. The Pacers would be,
such a Spurs
as
player.
It is right now, 5th. But let's do a ping pong ball. The ping pong balls are floating. Here we go.
And your David Stern voice.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
With the 8th pick in the 2022 NBA draft, the Indiana Pacers select Keegan Murray from the University of Iowa.
Did we plan that?
Wow. That is exactly how it popped up,
Man,
baby.
I wish we were smart enough to rig it like that.
That's amazing, isn't
Gosh, was that HTML coding? Did you learn that in your classes?
I did.
And you were able to do that quick?
That was impressive.
Valedictorian in the spring semester, the one and only Jake Lloyd Query.
You got it, buddy.
Speaking of the Pacers, tomorrow night, I should say, the Thunder back in action from the All-Star break, 22 to go. Here was Rick Carlisle yesterday on Malcolm Brogdon being back and seeing Malcolm Brogdon and Tyrese Haliburton play together.
I love it. I think they're perfect complements to one another. They both have, had their share of playing with and without the ball, so both positions come naturally to them. Really, with those 2 guys and their knowledge of the game, feel for the game, I should never have to call a play.
Thought Carlisle had one of those, he was getting interviewed for a crime or something, and they had kind of masked his voice a little bit there for a second.
By the way, I'm kind of disappointed. Obviously I'm disappointed because he's no longer with us, but my David Stern impersonation, he's not even, he's no longer living. So, like, you know, I have like
I think
maybe
it's pretty good.
I have like a year left to do this, right? Before anybody's like, who is that guy? Who's it? You know?
Do you have an Adam Silver?
No, I'd have to lose a lot of weight, first off. I don't know what Adam Silver hasn't been doing it long enough. I know this about David Stern when he did it. This used to drive people bonkers. You ready? With the 6th pick in the 1993 NBA draft, the Washington Bullets select Calbert Chaney from the University of Indiana.
Oh, boy.
He would always say it that way.
Always
like,
Indiana or like other colleges?
The university,
as well?
no, just Indiana. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, Kevin, but I have this incredibly unique and gifted ability to know with a state university whether it's the University of or blank university.
Boy, that'll get you far in life.
And people go crazy over it because the University of Kansas is KU. And they're like, well, why is it KU if it's University of Kansas?
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it like that.
It's like a dyslexic moniker of some sort. But I believe it's because University of Kentucky was first and they wanted to differentiate. Or they just didn't like the Brits. I don't know. It's one of those two.
That is riveting stuff right there. From
hey, let me tell you something. How do you think I landed this gig?
Query, yeah. Malcolm Brogdon again back. TJ Warren, no timetable. Stop if you've heard that before. He's played 4 games since the bubble occurred. Myles Turner going to be out a couple of more weeks with that stress reaction. Isaiah Jackson was back to practice. No Chris Duarte. So that toe injury Duarte suffered before the All-Star break seems to be lingering a bit. The easiest schedule in the NBA to finish the season. So that Keegan Murray, 8th overall, could be a little bit more realistic, right?
Yeah. I mean, with that, because you're just going to keep sliding back, right?
22 games to go. How many of the Pacers win?
22 to go. I will say they finish 6. Nah. They'll win more than that. They'll finish 9 and 13. Yeah, 9 and 13, and they'll finish 29. Gosh, can you imagine? Still under 30 wins. Scotty is shaking his head. He's having memories of the brown curtain and PTSD of, well, come down to Market Square Arena, and after watching the Boston Celtics, Kool and the Gang will be performing. Your tickets for just $8 at your local Mars or Ticketmaster locations.
You know what else Scotty's shaking? You know what happened yesterday? A perfect 5 for 5. Jake Query holding the hand. Hockey questions, right?
I know, man.
4 and 5 to end it. We have never, in the history of the pop quiz, had 2 winners in the same week. Scotty, the level of difficulty on today's pop quiz? He's saying
an 8.
An 8 out of 10. In Scotty J terms, Jake, that is like,
I was going to say,
DEFCON.
That is tough.
317.
I'll look at it here. I'll try to look up some hints.
317-239-1070. Let's see if we can go back to back for the first time ever here on the pop quiz. Kevin and Query coming at you after this.
It may be hard to think about your backyard project right now, but now's the best time to get on the books. Your backyard patio experts. IndyDecorativeConcrete.com.
If you love listening to our shows, then you've got to follow us on our social media. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Search 1075 The Fan and share your opinions with us on our posts.
A girl in Kenya dreams of becoming a doctor. An elder in Guatemala dreams of becoming part of a community. Reach out and change their world, and it will change your own. Unbound.org.
When it comes to working at Geico, our best advocates are our employees, like Justina. But since she is so focused on growing her career, we hired an actor to read her story.
At Geico, I receive support from those above me. If you want to move up, you really have that relationship and encouragement.
As a full-time employee, she can even get paid training and tuition reimbursement. Yep, there's no stopping her now. She's even taking over book club.
Ready to start your career, Indy? We're hiring claim sales and service agents. Apply online today at geico.job/Indy.
Cambridge Fieldhouse is our house.
Turner the rebound, puts it in!
We protect our house.
Here's another 3, towards you!
Along with 18,000 of you every game. We thrive on your energy.
He's going to step back, a 3, count it!
We are gold-blooded.
It's an Eastern Conference showdown when your Pacers host the Boston Celtics on Sunday. Enjoy an early tip-off at 5 p.m. Get your tickets at Pacers.com. Pacers Celtics, Sunday at 5.
And we got some February madness with the IHSAA, the girls basketball state finals this weekend. And we're going to look back here at Jackie Young, one of the most accomplished girl or boys ever in the state of Indiana when it comes to basketball. First overall pick in the WNBA, a brilliant career at Notre Dame. and won a gold medal for 3-on-3 in the Olympics as well. Her high school career at Princeton, the state championship highlight right here for Jackie Young. 36 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals. Here's Jerry Baker and Jane Schott on the call.
They've got one of the finest players, not just in Class A or 2A or 3A or 4A, but the entire state, in a lady named Jackie Young.
32 points a game, a stat stuffer. She is the real deal. Can do it all on the floor on the offensive and defensive end, so she'll be big key for Princeton tonight.
Minute 45 to go in the first quarter of play, this 3A championship game. Here is Young getting inside. Got her own rebound, puts it right back up, and this time does get the roll.
Jackie Young already has 5 rebounds.
That was Jackie Young again, the 2015 state championship there with Princeton. We've got the girls basketball state finals are this Saturday on the Fever's home court. New champion in all 4 classes will be crowned. We'll have Greg Rakestraw and Paul Knighting, the IHSA commissioner, join us on Friday's show. It's been 50 years since the introduction of Title IX, which has a heritage as rich in Indiana history as the game of basketball itself. So don't miss it. Nothing compares to attending the IHSA basketball state finals in person.
The Ride with JMV.
Tigers catcher Tucker Barnhart joins us. All right, so if you're listening in on these player rep meetings, any interesting dialogue that you've heard?
Yeah, it was great. Max Scherzer was, for lack of a better term, mother effing people on there a couple weeks ago. It was good.
Why don't you roll a tape on that for me? I'll put that in like a re-entry.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. Have you studied? Can you handle the pressure? Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with Kevin and Query. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
Okay, we got a full slate here of people who have called in for the Pop Quiz.
You know, it's interesting, Jake. Scotty said 8 out of 10, and I see 5 multiple choice questions.
Really? Okay.
There is some hockey.
One of them, by the way, a question that we've asked on this program like 7 times.
And one of them, I think we asked when Scotty was out last week.
Correct.
Really going to test the loyalty of our listening audience.
I think we're testing the loyalty of Scotty, how often he listened when he was on vacation.
All right, Jake, can we go 2 for 2? Jiffy Lube prize pack again, and really just royalty. You can hang a banner in your house if you're able to go 5 for 5 on the Pop Quiz. A number 1 through 8.
I'll go with number 2 since we're going trying to go 2 for 2 here.
Numero dos is who, Josh?
Russ.
Morning, guys.
Russ, you're bringing some energy on this Thursday morning. How you doing?
I'm doing okay, man.
Russ, if you don't mind me asking, because you sound like a nice guy, how old a fella are you?
55.
This is 55-year-old Russ. Have you called the program before?
Been a long time, couple years maybe.
Okay. And Russ...
Thanks for calling.
Yeah. Are you a native of Indianapolis, Russ?
Yes, sir.
I like... That's Russell. Is that short for Russell?
Yes, sir.
Do you find yourself partial to Russell Athletics gear versus, like, say, Champion or other brands?
I kind of do. I kind of like seeing my name on something.
Hell yeah. Russell.
Is Georgia Tech still Russell Athletic? I feel like they have a lot of Russell Athletic.
There was a Russell Athletic bowl game, wasn't there?
Actually,
hey, Russ, are you, by any chance, Russ, were you a fan of politician Bob Dole?
No, sir.
Okay, he's from Russell, Kansas. I didn't know if you knew that or not, and, you should...
No,
That's a good footnote to have.
If I'm driving through the area, I'll steal you the town sign. Okay, Russ, 55-year-old Russ, you ready for question number 1?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Russ, are you a racing fan by chance of auto racing?
Huge NASCAR fan.
Okay.
A lot of yes sirs from Russ. I like that.
Russ, were you in the military?
Yes, sir.
What was the last school that you attended, Russ?
IUPUI, continuing studies.
Okay, nothing wrong with that. That's a palindrome, by the way.
Thank you for your service, Russ.
The IndyCar Series opens Sunday at St. Pete. Who is the defending champion of the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg? This second-generation driver, obviously winning this race a year ago. A, Pata O'Ward. B, Scott Dixon. C, Alex Palou. Or D, Colton Herta.
C.
Polo?
Yes, sir.
Russ, let me tell you something. Neither one of us has earned sir, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, I was going to say thank you. Name the state university whose run of 29 unanswered points is the largest in a D1 men's college basketball game this season. Evansville scored how many last night, Jake?
31 points.
31 total. So 29 in a row is quite a lot. I think there's probably only one school that you would think is capable of doing that. Purdue, Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne, Ball State.
Purdue, Fort Wayne.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Question number 3. Last night, Russ, the UConn women's basketball team clinched the Big East regular season last night. That is their 9th straight regular season conference title, the second longest streak in Division I women's basketball. Which school that actually has a live bear alive on their campus has the record for the longest active streak? Would it be A, Stanford, B, South Carolina, C, Baylor, or D, Iowa State?
C, Baylor.
Okay.
All right, Russ. Moving on to number 4. Kentucky knocked off LSU last night in men's hoop to run its home winning streak to 18 games, the third longest current home streak behind only Gonzaga and Texas Tech. Nobody's close to the all-time long home win streak in D1 men's basketball, though. Name the team that ran off 129 straight wins at home. Is it A, Kentucky, B, UCLA, C, Cincinnati, or D, the Bonnies, St. Bonaventure?
I'm going with C again, Cincinnati. These are tough ones, guys.
Russ, I appreciate your confidence. He doesn't mess around.
Russ is a nice fella. Russ, the last question here. Scotty had one that we just asked the other day, so I'm going to... Scotty, do I have your permission to boot that one out since we asked it when you were on vacation? Scott says go ahead. Okay. Russ, here's my question for you. Last year, the Brickyard 400 for the first time for your NASCAR series was run, of course, on the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Who won the race?
Oh.
His first name is a 2-letter name that is the same as a 4-time Indianapolis 500 winner.
Al.
It's a 2-initial first name that is the same as the first 4-time winner of the Indianapolis 500.
A.J. Allmendinger.
Okay, A.J. Allmendinger he's going with. Okay.
Oh, boy. I was trying to picture that in my head. Wordle was the only thing else popping in my head there, Jake. Russ,
he's a good bloke.
Again, thank you for the service, and thank you for this confidence in the pop quiz. Unfortunately, did not go 5 for 5. The defending champ in the Grand Prix of St. Grand or Grand?
Excellent question. I always say Grand Prix, but I think a lot of people, for this, I think most people say Grand Prix. Pre. It's just pre-weekend.
You try to go second generation. You try to give that hint.
Son of Brian Herta, Colton Herta was the correct answer for question number 1. He went with Alex Palou. Good guess.
The season winner.
Yeah.
You don't get to come back tomorrow. You don't even get allowed.
State University, who scored 29 unanswered in a game this year. It was in Purdue's 97-40 win over Omaha, which is Peyton Manning's favorite team. Back in November, the Boilers was the correct answer. Baylor, in fact, does have the longest streak. They've won 11 straight women's conference championships. Kentucky was the correct answer for number 4, and for number 5, A.J. Allmendinger was correct. I was on the campus of Baylor University in Waco. Have you been there, Kevin?
I have not.
Nice campus,
Curious
obviously.
what Waco's like.
Waco kind of just feels like a sprawled out version of like it's, I don't know, an hour and a half from Dallas. And Waco's fine. I did go to the Branch Davidian compound. That was something.
So you fly to Dallas and drive?
I did. We flew, my buddy Byron and I flew to Austin, and we drove back from Austin, went through Dallas and then through Waco. So we stopped on the Baylor campus, and we're like, well, they have a bear. We got to go see the bear, right? So we go to see the bear, and he's in his little cave in this glassed-in area, and I'm like, oh, the bear's in there. He's sleeping. He's taking a nap.
Oh no!
So I'm saying, well, let's hang around for a little bit and see if the bear comes out. Maybe he comes out and does photo ops or something, and I'm yelling, bear, And then it dawns.
You really sound like my daughter right now.
And it dawns on me. I'm like, wait a minute. He's hibernating. Like, he ain't waking up for 3 months. What am I doing out here trying to get the bear to wake up? And he's like, hey, man, I do this every year. Where the hell have you been? Come back in the spring.
Jake's acting like some drunk college kid on campus.
Literally, I'm looking at him like, this, how lazy is this guy?
Can you hibernate in Waco, Texas?
Apparently, I'm sure it's like some climate-controlled little environment they've got him in or something. I don't know. But I'm like, I look down, I can see like, some buried detritus and a couple empty bottles of Southern Comfort. I'm like, well, yeah, he's shutting it down till April.
Right.
Okay.
You have your favorite college campus is where?
Ooh, that's a good question. Boy, I'll tell you, Clemson's is really nice, and I know there's a bias there, but I think you've got to go with
Wyoming.
Wyoming is not a beautiful campus, I will say. The area is beautiful. The campus leaves a little to be desired. Lots of yellow brick buildings. I've been on a lot of campuses. Alabama's is nice. Alabama's is really nice.
I don't think I've been. Besides the Big Ten ones, travel to cover the
Ole Miss
Hoosiers
is
my
pretty
senior
nice.
year. I haven't been to many.
Ole Miss is pretty nice. Oh, okay. I was only on the outskirts of the campus, but LSU was really nice. Like big lake in it and beautiful. Oh, Stanford? You've been on Stanford's?
I have heard of it.
Oh, no, wait. Hold on. Hold the phone. Sorry. There is a clear-cut number one, no question, one step on to this campus, and it's like, sign me up. Yep, I'm going here. Here's where I'm going right now. Well, after you've then got to join the Communist Party after your 4 years, and you can never go. That's fine. Sign me up. Bingo. I'll tell you what it is next. Deal?
Can you give me a state?
No, I'll give it away. The state name is in the name of the university. Boulder's nice. I've been to a lot of them.
Cal Berkeley?
But there is one that is a clear-cut, no question number one.
I've been to USD. I think San Diego is a beautiful, beautiful campus. My uncle went there, my brother.
Pepperdine. Scott Swan went to Pepperdine from Channel 13.
Really?
Yep.
Possibly a new voice on Monday Night Football. We'll touch on that as well as Jake's favorite college campus. Coming up next here to round things out on Kevin and Corey.
Jake Query here. Recently I returned to college to finish my degree, and I encourage you to join me. Whether you're like me and life simply got in the way, or you never went to college at all, Indiana offers financial assistance for those ready to move forward. If I can do it, I know you can too. If you're looking for a better job or doing it for your family, Indiana has grants to pay for over 150 certificates in high-wage industries. You're sure to find a tuition-free option that fits you. To apply, visit nextleveljobs.org today. Sponsored by the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. That's nextleveljobs.org.
This isn't just a song. It's an anthem for a community of millions that has turned the melody into its mantra. And this May, it's the tune that's calling us to come back together again, to come back to the spectacle, to come.
Back home again in Indiana.
The Indianapolis 500, Sunday, May 29th. Visit IMS.com for more information.
We buy any car. We buy any car. We buy any car. Any.
Did you know trading in your car at a dealer could cost you money? A recent study found consumers who trade in their car pay an average of $990 more. So don't trade in. Sell it to We Buy Any Car. Learn more and get your free online valuation now at WeBuyAnyCar.com.
Find out how much your car's worth at We Buy Any Car.
O'Reilly. Improve visibility and save money at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Replace your old wiper blades with a new pair of Rain-X Advantage wiper blades and save $10 now at O'Reilly. Our professional parts people will even install them for free. See better and drive safer with new wiper blades from O'Reilly Auto Parts in store or online at O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
When you lose your hair, you lose more than just hair. You lose your confidence. But that doesn't have to happen.
Today, there are proven medical solutions to stop hair loss, and in some cases, regrow what you've lost. And now you can get them online at 4hims.com, including the very latest treatment, topical finasteride and minoxidil spray. It combines 2 proven hair loss treatments in the only hair loss spray of its kind, and only 4hims.com has it. No more pills, no more messy, time-consuming applications. Topical finasteride and minoxidil spray is only available by prescription, but at 4hims.com, you can connect with a medical provider online who will, if appropriate, prescribe this new spray and ship it to your home. It's that easy. Get the old hair back. Get the old you back at 4hims.com. For a free online consultation, go to 4hims.com/care. Regrow your hair in 3 to 6 months at forhims.com/care. 4hims.com/care.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan. You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Did you ever go through a Doors phase, Kevin?
Can't say I did.
What about Led Zeppelin? Did you ever go through a Zeppelin phase?
I mean, I wouldn't call it a phase, but a little bit of listening, sure.
I felt like although for me, the Doors, a lot of people went through a Doors phase, but that's because the Val Kilmer Doors movie came out in 91 when I was a senior in high school. So they had like this resurgence. And then the Led Zeppelin box set came out when I was in college, and everybody had the Led Zeppelin box set and went through a Zeppelin phase. The best campus that I have been on, Stanford's, is beautiful. But in terms of perfectly manicured, but most importantly, perfect weather, perfect sunsets, beautiful buildings, literally not a piece of trash anywhere on it, is UCLA. I look at UCLA, anytime that I've been on the UCLA campus, I think to myself, if they get a recruit on campus, it's over. I mean, Pauley Pavilion left a little to be desired. I went in there and I'm like, really? It just kind of felt like just a multi-purpose, like little gym kind of. But
now, is it USC or UCLA? It's in the really dicey area.
USC, which is interesting because...
Is it close to the Coliseum? Because I've been to the Coliseum.
Yeah, it's in Watts, basically, right? I mean, it's so... USC is private and is in Watts, more like the south central part of L.A., just south of downtown. And then UCLA is public and is in Bel Air. I mean, you come down... If you're on the UCLA campus, you drive to the exit of the campus, and you're right there on Santa Monica Boulevard, and like, boom, there's like the Beverly Hills Rolls-Royce dealership, like right across the street from the campus. I mean, it's like, oh my goodness. And like, you know, it's right in the Hollywood Hills. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I have heard Stanford is just...
Yeah, Stanford is perfectly laid out. It's manicured perfectly. I think the thing about California in general is just there's no humidity, so the sunsets are like crisp and perfect. And literally every day, it's 72 degrees. I know that it was interesting, Kevin, when I worked in television, I used to subscribe to a website that would list job openings at TV stations. And
it's called LinkedIn.
That's right now, yeah. The one job that was always posted, like every 2 years, meteorologist in San Diego or Honolulu. Those two places were always looking for meteorologists. And it's because people would go there like, oh, lifestyle market, Honolulu, hell yeah, let's go. And they'd go there, and the weather every day was, tomorrow it's going to be 72 and sunny. See ya. And like the meteorologist got like a minute to do the forecast because there was, unless there was a hurricane coming, nothing happening. And people would just get tired of it and move on because it was the same thing every single day.
Boy, I think
it's like us with Carson Wentz.
I think I could get used to that lifestyle. I don't know if I get tired of it.
You've been to San Diego, right?
Yeah.
Oh man,
my uncle went there. My brother visited there. Yeah, San Diego's gorgeous. Speaking of UCLA, Jake, sounds like a new voice on Monday Night Football. Did you see this?
I did not.
So if I'm referencing UCLA, and you're thinking new voice on Monday Night Football, does that clue you in on anybody in
radio
particular?
Or television?
Television.
You're talking the play-by-play voice?
Color.
Troy Aikman.
According to Andrew Marchand of the New York Post, who covers sports media and is one of the more, I think, highly thought of people in that industry, he says Troy Aikman on the verge of joining Monday Night Football.
He's really good. Really good. Does that mean that he leaves Buck?
So
or
that,
does he do both?
I think, remains to be seen. We mentioned this, I think, around the Super Bowl. Al Michaels' contract is up at the age of 77.
And he's going to Amazon Prime, right?
That is the thought, but I think there's now a thinking here of like, wow, could this be a last-minute Michaels Aikman? Does Buck come off the Fox broadcast? Are we looking at Buck and Aikman moving forward on Monday Night Football here? I assume Steve Levy would not be. You think Aikman would hitch his wagons to Steve Levy moving forward?
Yeah, didn't Tirico do some of those games, though?
Tirico is going to be the new Sunday nighter.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Al Michaels leaving NBC.
I keep forgetting. Yeah, okay.
I actually thought Louis Riddick and Brian Griese were decent. They were better than I thought they would be.
You know what?
Especially Griese. I mean, I think of Griese as like he's calling the second-tier Big Ten game on a college football Saturday.
No, he was okay. I thought Levy. I think Levy does a nice job. You know, the guy that I think is really underrated as a play-by-play guy that I think does a really good job is Chris Fowler on college football.
Yeah, agreed.
I think he and Herb Street are excellent doing big-time college football games, and I enjoy them. But
I'm with you on Aikman. I like Buck and Aikman.
I think Aikman. Here's what is the really difficult, intangible combo to master. Aikman is he's a good-looking guy. He's a cool-looking guy. He was an NFL player. He's a multi-Super Bowl winner, the whole 9 yards. But yet when you watch him, he just feels like a dude talking to you. You know, he's just very, he seems humble, down to earth, just talks to you.
I've had one interaction with him. It was back when I was working for the Colts, and he came in to do a Colts game, and I was interviewing him just for a separate article, and at the end of it, I get done. He's like, so tell me more about this Colts team. I'm thinking to myself, you care about what 24-year-old Kevin Bowen thinks about the Colts? Right. Like, what are you saying right now? Like a very genuine back and forth. And so he does seem like, to me, in that 5-10 minute interaction I had with him, pretty down to earth. And I also think him and Buck do a pretty good job as well. So we'll see if anything official on that front.
Troy Aikman, by the way, native of he spent part of his childhood in California, but then moved to Oklahoma. I think a lot of people forget that he played for Oklahoma, right?
Oh, I thought he was UCLA. Am I wrong?
He was, but he started at Oklahoma.
Oh, gotcha. Oh,
and then he transferred to UCLA.
That damn transfer portal, Jake. It'll get you.
That's right. As a matter of fact, he was part of, like, when they had that thing where, Super Bowl winning quarterbacks that were national champions, and nobody mentioned Aikman, and I'm like, he was on the Oklahoma national championship team. He just got hurt, and then Jamel Holloway, who was a freshman, took over.
I know you're probably itching to do this next weekend, but if you want to, Jake, you can go to the NFL Combine for free.
Really?
You can sit all the way down low, which I think is the first time I've seen this. 100 or 200 level tickets available for the Combine.
For free?
For free. Register online and can get free access to the workouts. I always thought they put you a little bit higher up because, the scouts needed their sanctity of the quiet nature around them while they were evaluating these prospects. I assume you'll not be registering for those.
Well, listen,
tickets.
I am very curious to see and I have been waiting a while, chomping at the bit, kind of like that Baylor Bear waiting for that thing to wake up. I've been waiting to see exactly what kind of 40 speed time the starting center from North Dakota State has. I like his lateral movement, like his burst. Feel like in a breakaway situation carrying a fumble football, I don't want him getting caught by a corner, and so I need to see what he can do in that. And I also want to see the bench press of the punter out of San Jose State. A little concerned about his upper body. Feel like I need to see more there.
I am curious to see what David Bell does at the Combine. I don't think he's necessarily a Combine freak.
Correct. Would agree.
Does that hurt him at all? I hope it doesn't because I think he's a hell of a wideout. But inevitably,
he's a second or third rounder, right?
Yeah, I'd like to think second, but sometimes that poor Combine can.
I mean, was T. Higgins a workout warrior at the Combine? But look where he is, right?
Yeah, T had the height though.
DeAndre Hopkins left poo all over his room, and so he dropped. And guess what?
Well, he had those big hands to get the poo on his, all over his room.
I know, but Mr. Polian said he's not a first-round talent.
Helps him out there. Frank Reich.
Too busy getting Lamar Jackson at wide receiver.
Next Thursday at 9 o'clock, we'll have him live at the Combine there. Again, Frank Reich, Chris Ballard will meet the media on Tuesday, and then Frank with us on Thursday. IU handles business tonight.
They better. Yeah, I think they do.
6.5-point favorite over Maryland as they go for the season sweep. Again, Pacers back in action tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll hit a lot of high school stuff with looking ahead to the girls' state finals. Greg Rakestraw will join us, Paul Knighting, the IHSA commissioner, and we'll get you set for St. Pete. Jake heads to St. Pete Friday after the show as well. Thank you to Scott Agness. Thank you to Curt Cavin as well. Josh Molnex, appreciate it. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Stay tuned. Dan, noon to 3. John, 3 to 6. We'll talk to you tomorrow, 7 a.m. on Kevin and Query.
School is in session.
Now here we're back to this again. Leonard, last 4 buys. Indiana. People have no idea. They think I hate on Indiana. I root like hell for Indiana. But I also got to come on this show and I got to tell you what's real. And what's real right now is this basketball team is bad. And the truth of the matter is, Indiana, they blew a hell of an opportunity to put themselves in a much better position.
Dan Dockage, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Do you need furnace or heat pump service and need to find a local well-trained expert you can trust like B&W Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Drains? We'll find that American Standard Air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.